we're here again with Omar this time on the hot seat.
Yes, I am the guest now.
There you go. And of course, we have the pleasure to have Mr. Enrique Boucher on the soundboard.
Hey,
where are you at? You're number 4,
right
bro.
here, baby. Yeah.
It's his first time.
It's his first time. Yeah, so thank you so much for actually coming and helping out.
Sure thing, man. Sure thing.
It's always a good thing to have a good group of friends, to, call on, just when you need help, just small stuff like that. It's very, the gratitude, thank yous.
Thank you.
thank
I
you.
appreciate you, bud. I was going to
excited.
say you're returning the favor when I did your episode. So
Yeah. And I think that was the reason why I wanted Enrique to actually do the switching, because last time we actually did the pod together, I liked the atmosphere as far as I liked how we were going.
I think it was your longest episode too.
Yeah,
I think we were just kind of going back and forth a lot.
Yeah. I like the bantering as far as how we were kind of. I think it was the first time when meeting Enrique, and then you basically just saying, "Hey, I already know this guy," so it just made it easy for us to kind of flow and have a conversation where everyone felt comfortable. And I'm like, all right, I liked how it went. Let's just not break that formula. Let's do it again, but this time let's have Omar on the actual guest seat. So, of course, for those that didn't actually listen to that pod, go listen to it. That was a really funny pod. As far as Enrique, the first time meeting him, local comedian. Also, he has his own pod, Enrique Boucher, on Instagram. So 100% recommend him. I met him through Shade of Brown, so another local pod that I have on my pod every now and then. And once again, they became friends via them doing their own thing, which that's what I want to do, is if I could push my own content, which is this right now, which is the podcast, and then meet other podcasters or content creators via doing the same thing, I think it's easier for me to connect with them right away, because I already know the struggles, as far as being a content creator or doing this, on a daily, because we were talking when you came in, what we were doing as far as what we had going on today. So
absolutely.
Yeah. And just give the audience a very short bio, just in case they didn't actually get to see the last one.
That's true. I was going to say, I just assumed all you guys know already, seeing as you guys follow Irvin and you keep watching him. But yeah, my name is Omar. I've known Irvin for a very long time. Fellow musicians, so that's where we first essentially, got to know each other. And in the previous episode, I told the story about how when I was first playing guitar, I was terrible, but Irvin was not terrible. I remember him being like my big bro in my brain, where I was like, oh yeah, that's the guy who knows how to play guitar really well, and maybe if I talk to him a little bit more, he'll show me how to be a better guitar player.
Yeah. And then just in case, because I know I have Enrique in the back seat over there, so I want just in case, because every time, like I said, anytime that we have anybody coming in through this whole section of within the board, it's fairly new. So, just in case I'm still trying to explain the program, and the preview is the main screen. Because I think I see you looking at the smaller screens.
Oh, my bad. I'm just looking at the screen right here.
Okay.
My bad.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, there you go. That's the one. That's the one. That's the main one.
Yes,
That's
sir.
the one.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And then we got the numbers at the bottom, just in case you forget the numbers of the cameras.
I was going to say, I just made it look so easy last time.
Oh, no.
It's all right.
I'm sorry. My apologies.
Like I said, it comes naturally to somebody, but, it's 3 cameras, and then we got sound effects today. Hit one of those sound effects. Just go for it.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the show.
I love shit like that. Yeah. Genuinely, it makes me feel like I'm in a sitcom,
right?
And I already think I'm in my own movie, so it's like that was perfect.
Perfect timing. I'm not used to the sound effects. I'm not used to the headphones. I think I have the equipment for headphone sets, and I have the headphones, and I have the effects on the board, but I don't know, for whatever reason, it never went into my head to just connect the stuff and you actually use the headphones. I think I've used headphones at least twice. This is going to be the second time, actually. And then the last time was with the Shade of Brown and Enrique Boucher. And I used headphones on their actual podcast too, and they had effects as well. But for me, it was just it's not really mandatory, as long as I could actually have someone on the board and having them use the headphones where they could actually see if it's clipping or if there's any sound coming through. That's all I really care about. But, you wanted the headphones, and you're the guest, so.
I was gonna say, I personally like being able to like, know if I'm actually talking into the mic or not. So like having headphones, I'm like, oh yeah, okay. I'm a little bit more mindful about moving around.
Yeah.
And I tend to move around a lot.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I was like, this helps me out.
Yeah, and I think Enrique, you like the headphones as well, right?
I enjoy the headphones.
Yeah.
I like to hear my voice. It's like an instrument. It's like plugging a guitar into an amplifier.
Yeah.
It's just,
It's just a little bit different for me.
Yeah.
It's just for me, it's almost a little bit distracting. Of course, we are using the Rode Podcaster. I think it's the first version. It's not the greatest for me as far as like the input when it comes to the headphones. I could hear a little bit of the sound noise as far as like what it is. That's what it is though. Like that's something that I can't control. I think I did the reviews, and that's something that they had spoken about. I think the second version of the mixer has better amplifiers or headphone amplifiers. So maybe just upgrade, because for me, it's just a little bit distracting. I know you guys are nerds and you guys like talking about gear and stuff. I'm a little bit of that nerd too, but it's more of just if I hear something that I don't like, it's almost a distraction to me.
I get you.
That kind of thing.
No,
So
that totally makes sense.
yeah.
There is a little hum, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. Hit one of those effects again. There you go. I don't know if it was a joke.
Sorry. No, oh man, that's fun. That's a lot of fun. I love that.
Yeah, so of course, me and Omar have known each other for quite some time.
Yes.
I think that's something that we spoke about on the last pod.
I want to say at least 10 years.
I'm going to say longer.
I'm going to say longer than 10
Longer
years.
than-
That's right. I always forget this.
Yeah, I'm going to say longer because I think I met you when I was like either 22 or 23. I am now
21?
35. Either maybe 21.
I think you were 21.
Yeah, maybe 21.
Yeah.
I could have been I don't know. It was too long ago, but that's how long ago we've actually known each other, and I think I think it's amazing that we stayed friends.
Yeah.
How many
There's
people
less
do you know? How many people do you know that you still talk to?
Ah, man. Yeah, I was going to say my oldest friend that I had, and I knew him since I was like 10 years old. We just cut ties like maybe 2 years ago. So it's like I really don't know anybody longer than I want to say 8 to 10 years right now. That's like as far as my oldest friend group. Like I was going to say my best friend in the entire world.
Yeah.
I've known him for like 8 years.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, 10 years. Sorry, I forget that time keeps moving,
Yeah.
but my brain thinks it hasn't.
Yeah.
So it's been...
Yeah, and
Oh, wow.
as far as like your friends from like elementary, junior high, high school, anything?
You know what? I still know them. Like they're still around, but you know, like as you start to grow up, people's priorities change. People start going in different directions. Some people move. Some people, again, their interests change. So like, you know, I'm a musician now, and a lot of the people that I knew back in the day, I mean, not that you have to be a musician to talk to me, but it was just as I started to play more guitar, I started hanging out with more musicians, and they were, you know, doing their own stuff, hanging out with their own people.
Yeah.
And that's where I was like, oh yeah, we don't really have much time or space for each other anymore.
Yeah, and I think last time on the last pod, you guys mentioned that you guys actually met each other before in junior high, I believe.
Yep.
Technically, I've known this guy
Elementary
since
school.
elementary,
Yep.
but we didn't actually know each other until like about, I want to say high school.
More like the music scene. You know,
Oh, wait, you didn't go to
reconnected.
Eastside, did you?
Eastside High School?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't remember you at Eastside High School, man.
Oh, see, I remember you at Eastside. I remember seeing you
remember-
around.
okay.
Yes, exactly. But I don't
Okay.
think we ever talked or anything.
Talked or anything like that.
Why was that?
I don't know. Like I said, I used to hang out with different people.
Different friends groups.
Different
Different
crowds.
friends group. I was always all over the place, man. Like I'm kind of like a chameleon. It's like it doesn't matter who you put me around. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna have a good time. And I learned that in high school, just because you know I never had like a solid friend group. You know how like people have their boys or their like their
Very
best friends.
interesting.
I never had that. It was more so like here's my my friends of the week. Here's my other friends
gotcha.
of the week, and I just kind of move around constantly.
Is that just your personality in general?
I think so. I think it started that way, where it was like, oh yeah, I'm kind of ADD, and because of that, this is kind of like how I interacted with people. Like I would interact with the preppies people for a while, and then I'd go hang out with the cholos, and then I'd hang out with the band geeks, and then I never really hung out too much with jocks until the very last year of my high school.
You didn't do sports?
No, I didn't do sports. That's why I didn't talk to jocks.
That's
but
probably
yeah, and then I was a skater for a bit, and that, you know, like again, that was another group, and I that's how I've always operated. So it's a double-edged sword. You learn how to interact with all types of people, but you also don't have anybody who's like firm as far as like in your group, as far as your people. Which that can be said about a lot of things, you know, like a friend of everybody is an enemy to themselves, is what they say. So
you didn't hang out with the special lady, you know, the ladies. You know.
I thought he was going to say something else.
Me too. I was like, wait.
Did you hang out with the ladies?
Ladies. Let's see. I did hang out with some ladies. Yes.
A lot of ladies.
No, because the problem was, like, I like being friends with people, and a lot of times I had a lot of girlfriends.
Like friends that were girls or girlfriends?
No, they were friends that were girls. But the problem was that these friends that, you know, they always had boyfriends, and they
friend zoned you.
No, they hated me.
No, they hated you.
No, the dudes hated me. No, the girls loved me.
No, they friend zoned you. That's what I'm talking about.
I want to say.
Friend zone.
I want to say back in the day, my priorities were a little bit different. Okay. So like for me, it was, you know, I've always grown around women. I've grown up around women my entire life.
Your sisters, right?
Yeah, sisters, aunts, cousins. Like I haven't. I mean, I was just gonna say I don't really have too many masculine like figures in my life because it was always just women around me. So like I find comfort in just being around women because I'm like, oh yeah, this just feels like home. So
till this day.
To this day, yes, absolutely.
We're gonna take that away from you.
Well, no, this is going back to what I was saying. Every time I would hang out with a group of dudes, it was always they're trying to get something from me.
Okay, gotcha.
See what I mean?
Yeah,
so, like,
I see that.
And because of that, I'd become a little bit more mistrusting of the masculine, the more men people that were just like, hey, bro, you want to go out? You want to go hang out? I was like, yeah, sure. And then little by little, you know, I'd start to see them and I'm like, oh, okay, this is not a give and take. This is just take.
Taking as far as what?
Taking as far as taking time, taking energy, taking resources.
Interesting. I find that more in women than men.
Really? Yeah. Well, you know what? I think it's just because maybe perspective. For women, like I didn't have anything I can offer them other than just my emotions and my stories, you know, my friendship. With guys, there's always like, at least in high school, it was like, oh yeah, this guy, he's got a car, you know, he can, you know, we can go out, we can, you know, he can pick me up.
No,
you know,
I can see that.
You can see that.
Involving your car for sure, especially in high school, we didn't really have that transportation, especially back then. Most of us didn't have a car, or our parents didn't provide anybody a car. We were on the either city bus or some parent had to pick us up, or you know, exactly. So having that you have the car, I could definitely see guys now gravitating towards that for sure.
And you know what? And my nature, because I've always hung around, you know, women is to give. I've always given. So like even having just like, you know, some friends who are dudes, like, oh, dude, do you need something? They'd come to my house and I'd be like, I'm not using this. Here, take it. You can have it. And people would start to see that and they're like, oh, okay. Now I know Omar is just the type of dude that will just give me things if I asked for it. And that's, you know, that's...
I think that's in our nature, though. As guys, we just want to provide. As far as like we that's our biological nature. As far as like we want to give because that brings joy to us.
But see, that sounds like a woman.
No. The woman wants to receive.
Really?
Yeah, you're not a woman.
But look, hold on. Because again, when you think about like, if you want to talk about masculine and feminine energy, the masculine is about destruction and breaking down walls and creating or moving things out of the way in order to create. But the creation aspect comes from the feminine because again, the feminine themselves, they carry the life, they create the life within themselves. And if you've ever noticed, like, you know, the emotions that we feel, that's what provides good art. And, you know, that's highly associated to the feminine energy. So it's like, oh yeah, I would always assume that creation and nurturing came from women.
Yeah, I was going to say that's more nurturing as far as like the giving part, as far as like providing. Us as biological men, we want to provide to then give because that brings us joy as men. And of course, women want to nurture in order to then create something in their form of femininity. Of course, what you're talking about, masculinity of creation, it's to create, so that once again, it's to then create something for society. Once again, when you're talking about your male friends, you're bringing yourself joy by giving them resources like your car or whatever it is that you're letting them borrow. So it brought you joy knowing that you could provide something to within your society of group of friends, of male friends. And of course, back then, all guys were idiots, you know.
Absolutely.
You know, I would say I had a good group of friends. So
Oh, you did?
yeah, I did, from freshman to all through senior year, or actually even further, because they became my
nice.
band, you know.
Oh,
Exactly.
Carlos and all of them?
So Carlos came after high school, but of course I had Jimmy and Chris, but you didn't meet those guys. But I always had a band, and of course those are the guys that I hung out with. And of course I had other friends too, like I did sports and everything, and I did band. So I had friends within the band, but it wasn't like that type of friendship where I would go over the house every day, or we would just hang out on the weekends. It was nothing like that. But I did have a really good group of friends. But yeah, I think the idea of having friends now as guys with girls, it's a little bit different. In high school, it was, I would say it was more genuine in high school. Now it's a little bit different because we're adults. You know, we have to, in high school, we were all met up in one building. You know, we all kind of like, we're all given the same type of education, same type of food if you're having the food there. But now it's a little bit different because, you know, you have to create your resources now. You know, whatever knowledge you want to seek, you have to seek it yourself. It's no longer within the same building. I would say then it was easier because you're not having to create yourself as a man, as an adult, as you are now. Back then, you're still just growing your social skills. I would say.
Yeah.
So it was good that you interacted with women at that age, so that you could understand like social cues and all that stuff between both counterparts, men and women. And of course, now it's a little bit different because now you're in your 30s. If you don't understand those social cues and you're still seeking those social cues as far as like within your female counterparts, I think you're a little behind.
No, I completely understand that. Yeah, no, I think for a long time, yeah, because with women, at least in high school, I think because of how innocent the interactions were, because not to say that I wasn't a dog, you know, I mean, like every stupid guy in high school, row, 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 row. That's right. That's what they do. So like, not to say that I didn't have that in me, but for the most part, my initial interactions were very innocent. So like a lot of those social cues flew over my head in the beginning. I was just like, oh, you're my friend because you like me, actually. Like you want something more. And I didn't realize that I had friend zoned you, you know, and to so many girls back in the past, I think I'm like, oh yeah, I guess you did have a crush on me. Yeah. And I just never saw it because I was like, oh, you're just trying to be my friend, you know, like that's just what you're doing because that's what I'm doing, you know.
Enrique, you had female friends in high school?
No, I had female bullies. That's what I had.
No,
man.
Female boys.
There was a girl named Blanca. And she was like a chola girl.
Oh, Jesus.
And she was pretty. She was a really hot girl, man. I'm telling you. And she's like, hey, come here. And I'm like, okay. And then I get closer. And it's like, come here. Look. And I thought she was going to blow me a kiss like this.
Oh, no.
Like that. All she does is blow Lucas. You know, powder Lucas. It's horrible, man. That was
cold-blooded.
Man, this guy has stories.
Dude, I'm telling you, the girl,
every time we come in, he has a story.
Oh, man.
She was a bully, man.
And you had some violent history.
Oh, my.
So, yeah, the girls were kind of neat.
Were they? Oh, man.
They liked me, but they didn't want to admit it. You know, they just like, I hate to like him.
I think isn't that like elementary school rules? So like if I like pick on you or like give you a wedgie, it means I like you.
And
you know,
it never goes away. That's that inner child, that kid part of a woman, a guy, mostly women. I feel like they never leave that childlike behavior. You know?
Oh man,
I think they tend to mature a little bit when it comes down to that when they hit 35s to 40s because they no longer get the same type of attention when they were like in their early 18s to 24s, even the 30s. Now they're having to develop those characteristics that will make them, you know, into the verbal skills that, you know, charismatic that a man has to become at an early age in order for us to attract them. And when they're pretty, or depending on how pretty they are, and I'm not saying all women at that age, but most of them don't develop those characteristics until they don't get that type of validation anymore. And then they're like, oh, maybe I should start being a little bit more attentive when it comes to my listening skills, and being a little bit more charismatic when I speak to the counterpart of whomever I'm speaking to. But yeah, it's a different game for both parties, because we have to develop those social cues or develop charisma in order for us to even get the attention from the opposite sex. Yeah. They don't. They're just pretty.
Well, I mean, I think it's a matter of, intent. So it's like, why develop skills if you're not going to use them? I used to have this jazz teacher. I'd always ask him, like, hey, man, like, when am I going to learn these notes? When am I going to do this? And he's like, yo, Omar, when you're playing the guitar, are you thinking about notes? And I'm like, nah, man. He's like, well, then, man, just focus on the shapes, man. Focus on the box, man. Why do you want to know all this information? And I was just like, oh, shit, you're right, Charles. Like, why do I need this information if I'm not going to use it? And like, for instance, as far as like charisma, like, I mean, I don't know if you'd watched the previous episodes where I talked about like how my dad was a hustler. Like my dad, I still remember him as the guy who had like 5 different jobs, and they were all like, his side hustles. But every time I'd see him interact with somebody, he was charming. The charisma was just oozing. But again, that's the way he ate. If he did not act that way, then people would be like, why do I want to help this guy out? Or why do I want to buy something from him? Or, hey, why do I want to hire him for this? Like, there was no reason to want to invest into that person when other people are also providing the same exact, service. So then, because of this extra commodity, which is charisma, my dad had way more clients and way better skills because he was able to learn from different people and using that one skill he knew how to do.
Because it's very attractive to both parties, male and female. Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. It's very attractive, and of course, you want to be with somebody that's very positive and energetic. Because they're basically giving you that type of positive reinforcement for yourself, because that's the salesman type, as far as like trying to sell your skill of conversation in order for you to get something out of the person. But of course, certain people develop that at an early age, or if not, they just have it already.
They just have it. Some people just have it. Absolutely.
Yeah. For me, I didn't. I'm honestly going to say I didn't get it until maybe my late 20s.
Late 20s?
Yeah, my late 20s.
Well, what was the reason? You had a reason, though.
It was the company.
Oh.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it was every time we do a podcast, I'm an introvert. I don't want to talk. That's literally my nature. I don't want to talk. Of course, being an introvert back then, being a guitar player, I didn't have to talk. I was just playing the guitar. Guitar did everything for me. Like I wanted to track a girl, play the guitar. There's no words exchanged. It's just, hey, let me show her the skills. And then she would come to me, and then there you go. But then later on, of course, I became a teacher. I wanted to become a teacher, so I had to develop certain social skills to actually teach. And of course, I didn't want to be the teachers that I remember that were terrible teachers that were literally just giving me a pamphlet, or basically just doing the bare minimum to make the class seem just as boring as the subject or whatever. Whatever they're trying to teach. So of course I wanted to be the teacher that I do want my students to actually be interactive with the lesson plan. So I need to understand that I can't be boring myself. And then of course later on I develop a company, and I need to get clients in order for me to make income. And for that I then have to understand, hey, be more charismatic. Your listening skills are there, but understand that the way that you say certain things, or the way that you want to say certain things to certain people, will always determine where you're at in different parties. And of course, that's a skill that I had to develop myself. And of course, it's a win-win, because not only it worked out for my company, but also to attract the opposite
Absolutely.
sex. Exactly.
Yeah, it works both ways.
But I would say my late 20s,
Okay.
late bloomer.
20s. I was going to say, I think Enrique, he always knew how to talk too.
Yeah, I think Enrique has a very natural, charismatic personality, though.
Yeah, I mean, again, I always wanted to be a performer as a kid. So
there you go.
I just wanted to make people laugh. So it's something that I was born with. It's a gift, And like I mentioned before, a previous podcast, we all three of us did together that. I had a conversation with my mother as growing up, that developed a sort of like, she was a salesman woman. So, she installed that in me.
Yeah, you watched her. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I also did learn it from my mom too, not just from my dad. So my mom, she worked at a grocery store for years of her life, and it's funny. I watch her now, and she looks like me. Where it's just like, oh, she was known as that one person from that one spot, and she was just, again, just charisma galore. Like she smiled. She was interested in other people. She would listen to them. She would say, oh, okay, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
And it was so attractive. People would always gravitate towards
And
her.
I was going to say the same, that when I first met you, you were very talkative. I was the opposite, but yet it meshed because you like to talk and I didn't. So you kept talking. I kept listening.
And you know what? That's hard, man. Most people don't listen. You heard me saying it earlier. Like whenever you talk to people, half the time they're waiting for you to just shut up so that they can continue to talk. So listening skills, that's a skill too. That's something that you have to learn how to do, and nobody really teaches you how to do that. It's something you learn.
Yeah. Or once
From
again,
experience.
it's either learned or it's in you too. Because the same thing. If you have good verbal skills, you either learn those or it's gifted. I think you either develop that gift and become a great public speaker, or you just become like a whatever speaker, in general, like a general speaker,
Just a general
But the
speaker,
same thing when it comes to the listening skills, like you could be a good listener, or you could be a great listener. It's a skill that you could, have as a gift and develop, or you could just become whomever, and I think those are the skills that I'm trying to enhance for myself, especially for the podcast, because it's just a skill that I know I'm developing, just to better my verbal skills as far as the conversation. And I think that's something that me and Enrique were actually talking about. I think I'd called them a couple of days ago because we did a podcast of 6 people, including myself. And I honestly thought it was going to be a lot harder than it was, especially because there's 6 opinionated podcasters. And I know we all wanted to put our inputs, but it went really well, a lot more than I actually initially thought, because I know Enrique's naturally wanting to speak. Myself being the person that I'm becoming, I want to put in my input, and then the other guys as well. But I think because we have our own platforms, we understand where we need to actually, hey, I'm going to say something here, or I'm asking my questions here, and here's the time that I need to listen. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand when they're actually doing a podcast. And Enrique had actually told me, he's like, yeah, it's a skill. Like it's something that we as people don't really understand until we actually see it. And of course, if the audience is listening to everybody speaking, it's just going to get confusing. Yeah.
Yeah, and you also have cameras. You have a whole thing recording, so you don't want to look back on your own on the video and go like, "Damn, I overtalked. Oh yeah, I overshared." You just you don't want to take up the whole space. You just want to let.
Oh, I'm the king of oversharing. So. No shame here, baby.
Yeah.
That's I guess that's the secret, or at least because listening was something I had to learn how to do. I think, again, I told you I had ADHD, and because of that, squirrel all over the place, it made it really hard for me to actually like listen to what it was that you were saying. So that was a skill I had to develop, but that's something I learned because, someone called me out on my shit, and they were like, hey man, like, how about you wait a second, stop trying to answer, my response. Because I would always do that. I'd be like, oh, I can already know what you're about to say, like halfway through the sentence, only because like, my brain is just moving so fast. And I'm like, oh, naturally the conversation will lead to this.
Yeah.
Oh, you're about to say this. And they're just like, dude, can you just let me say it?
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh, okay, my bad.
You just get too excited, I think, right?
Yeah.
No, I do get excited.
I get excited too, man. I get so excited, just can't control yourself at times.
Oh, dude. Yeah, man. But that's another skill is self-regulation, being able to regulate your emotions, regulate because excitement is an emotion. That's what you're feeling. You're like, your heart starts pumping and you're just like, you call it anxiety, you can call it excitement, but the point is it's an emotion. It's something that you're feeling in the moment. And you have to say, hold on, let's take a second. Drink some coffee.
Make it worse.
Make it worse.
There you go.
And then start talking again. And then you're like, okay, cool.
Okay.
So
for you, it was more of a thought process of like, okay, I know what I'm doing and I acknowledge it. Let me just settle. Is that what you're doing?
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. Because again, it still happens. Okay. Like even to this day, like it's not even because I learned how to like, listen, it doesn't mean that my brain isn't already trying to finish your sentence. It's just, no, I just learned to let it happen.
Yeah.
You know, and just being okay with, I don't need to know everything. I don't need to say everything. I can just sit back and I can allow you.
Yeah, for sure. And Enrique, do you do the same thing as far as like when you actually hear yourself when you're trying to, or when you're in the middle of a conversation, are you kind of like in the back of your head, like, okay, maybe I should back off right now?
Well, yeah, I think so. I think I just let it. I was a listener. I was always a listener.
Okay.
Yeah, I would listen to people's problems.
Okay.
As a kid, I'll be like, well, this is what you got to do. You know, I was trying to give advice as a kid because I saw
I was that kid too.
Like, I saw my mother give advice all the time. So that's a thing that, you know, I kind of build in my own. And, you know, especially girls, you know, high school girls, they have a lot of issues going on and they like to overshare, you know, they like to tell you what's going on at home. Too much of a detail. You're like, okay, I don't need to know that. I ain't no Dr. Phil.
You know what? I have people do that now, and they're just like, man, every time I'm around you, dude, I just end up telling you everything, and I'm like, bro, I didn't even say anything to you, dude.
Yeah,
I just
exactly.
Are you saying that people like to kind of like vent to you?
All the time now. Like,
is it the same people?
The same people as far as like
the same people that are venting, as far as like the people that you mentioned right now.
No, this is literally the entire world. Like, because I learned how to listen, I learned how to shut up, you know, and it's there's some peace in that. So like whenever I interact with people, I'm just kind of like, hey, what's up? How's it going there? I'm a lot calmer. I'm a lot chiller now, because when you first met me, I was like, hey, how's it going there, man? I want to talk, and I want to show you that I'm this, and I'm excited. I have so much to prove. And now I'm just like, hey, what's up? and because I do that, people are just like, oh my God, let me just, and everybody, I'm telling you, it's everybody. Like it's like I have a sign on my face. It's like
they're oversharing.
Oversharing sometimes, and I'm okay with that. You know, sometimes I'm like, hey, dude, like I'm over here just trying to get, you know, like some soda or some water, and at this gas station, and the guy behind me or the girl behind me, just all of a sudden is just blah.
Do they start the conversation, or do you?
Usually they start the conversation.
Interesting.
Yeah, literally, I'll just be standing in line, and they'll say, hey, you got the time or something? And I'll be like, yeah, hold on. And then instantly they'll make a comment, we're laughing, and then boom, they're just talking to me until I'm out of the building. And it's something that I would watch with my mom too. My mom had that ability where it's just like, oh, she walks somewhere and somebody would see her, and it's just like, they wouldn't even know her. They're just like, I just feel like I want to talk to you because whatever reason.
Oh, that's interesting.
So that's what I'm saying. It's almost like I feel like I have a sign on the back of my back or something that says, come talk to me. You know? And maybe I got that face. That's what it is. Maybe.
Does it overwhelm you anytime or at any point?
Sometimes, you know, that's, you know, I kind of keep to myself, you know, and like the older I've gotten, the more I've realized that I spend a lot more time alone. I want to say the last 7 years, about 7 years now, that I swear, dude, like I've just been a loner, and I'm okay with that. I like it. Yeah, the last 7 years, I've really got to know myself and how I operate, and genuinely, because of that, I can look at people and I can see how they operate as well.
Okay.
What was it? I don't know if it's some biblical thing, but it's, if you know thyself, you know everybody else, and that's the truth. Because I mean, I'm no different than you. I mean, granted, I'm a little taller than you, and my name's Omar, and you're a little older, and yes, I can rant about the different stories that we have, but at the end of the day, you know, you're a human being, just like me.
Yeah.
And you come to the same conclusions. They may not be the same, but if I say some shit to you and you don't like it, you're going to feel some type of way. And that's normal. That's what every human being does. You're going to respond in some way to me if I say, your glasses look stupid.
Okay.
You see, you responded with the laughter. You know, you've took that as a joke, and it was like,
we need the effect. Hold
on, give me laughter.
Go.
Give me laughter. Come on. Yeah, see,
the wrong one. Close enough.
Nerd. Darn it.
There you go.
Nerd. Break his glasses, dude.
But that being said, there's an emotional response when I throw a word at you, and that's the same with every human being on this planet. So when you learn how you respond and react to certain things, stimuli, interactions, human interactions, even just words and concepts, even your own thoughts, you'll start to notice it in other people. You start to see it like, oh, That's what makes you tick.
Yeah.
You know, and it's I call it a superpower.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
You're analyzing the person while having the conversation. And of course, that's where you actually start to understand your boundaries as far as like how far you actually could take the conversation and actually how deep you could take the conversation too. And also how well you're able to share with whomever you're sharing with by how far you could take a joke too.
Absolutely.
Because if I know that you could take a joke really well, I'm more than likely going to be able to trust you more.
Absolutely.
But if I feel like I'm stepping on eggshells around you, it's more than likely I'm not going to be able to say anything to you as far as like even giving you advice because I already know where your headspace is at. As far as like the level we're at in our lives, it's going to be different.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to overshare or I'm not going to give you advice that I know you can't take at that point because you're not ready for it.
Yeah, that's tough, man. You know, telling people, being yourself in front of somebody else, you know, especially whether you want to work with them. You don't want to overstep your boundaries or say something inappropriate for them to feel uncomfortable with you. But I think it's best just to be yourself. If they don't, you know, like you the way you are, then what's the point faking it if they don't like you?
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
know, why
Absolutely.
it's gonna torment you. I think it's a torment if you can't be yourself in front of somebody.
Yeah. I think it's for me that's the biggest reasons why I don't have female friends right now. Or I would say I don't think I'm gonna have female friends until I get the girl. At this point, I would say the only two female friends that I would say are female friends are when the girl that works with me, Ariana, she's with Interview Media, and also my friend Sarah, which you had met.
I remember Sarah, yeah.
But once again, those are the type of girls that I don't have to step on eggshells over anything. Now, I do have acquaintances that I'll always treat them very nicely, you know, that or associates, you know, that or people that do the same type of creativity that I do, you know, like, but I'm not going to hang out with them outside of whatever else that we're doing activity wise. It can't be that way because I already know that I think differently than they think differently. And of course, I'm not going to be putting myself in a position where I have to watch what I say.
Absolutely.
Because I already know that they're going to be a little bit more sensitive, you know, as far as like how they view the world is a little bit different than how I view the world. And I don't want to neglect that for myself as well. Now, when it comes to Ariana, I've known her since like her freshman year. I think it was either my sophomore year or my junior year, but I've known her older sister and I've known her older brother. So there's a connection with family already there. Now, when it comes to Sarah, it came down to where it was an accident and it wasn't an accident where we became friends because I was also helping at the time before I had my studio. I was an assistant at another studio and she was an assistant as well. And from there, we just became, you know, colleagues, I would say. And then I needed help with my production side as far as like with my photo section or my video section. And I remember vividly that I had a photo shoot and she had mentioned the whole friendship. She said, "Oh, you're my friend." And I looked at her and I'm like, "No, you're not." And she's like, "What?" And I know she's going to listen to this and she could 100 say.
You can comment. You can talk shit,
just say
please.
yes.
Just say
Just say yes. But from there, I explained to her, I'm like, "Look, you're a female, I'm a man. You know, it's not gonna the idea that I'm gonna see or I'm gonna speak certain things. I don't want to offend you. And of course, you've met her.
Yeah.
She
doesn't care.
She doesn't care.
She doesn't care.
She doesn't care. Exactly.
But I mean, that's neat though. I mean, like, I think that could be the same for anybody, not just women. Because again, I've met some guys where I'm like, "Ooh, oh yeah, that doesn't float."
Yeah,
by
but
you.
not only that, it's also the idea that we're guys. And
Totally.
No, we're guys.
I
you
know.
know?
I understand.
Could a guy be platonic friends with a girl?
Well,
genuinely. And I think we had met one of your friends at Transplants that
You
day.
met her? Yeah, you met
Yeah,
Faye
but
Lane.
then right away I already understood that she is not she does not like the opposite sex.
You know,
So I was like, all right, that's platonic. Because now she already set a barrier for you saying, "Hey, I'm not for that team." And yes, for sure we're friends, but Sarah's not. Like
but what you're saying is then it's about intent. It's about
but
intent.
genuine intent, though.
Genuine intent.
Genuine intent.
Because again, it sounds like your experience has always been women trying to take from you.
I think that's in general though. Like that's everybody. Like in general, like you're gonna give that type of energy to a girl or that attention because the value that they want is technically they want attention. That's what they seek, you know. And unfortunately, they know what they're doing. We don't know what we're doing as guys. They want our attention, but we're placeholders for that boyfriend that is coming through. So they want that male attention, but understanding that they're putting you in that friend zone for a reason, because they still want that male attention.
Okay.
And I don't want to give that male attention unless it's going to become something, you know. I don't want to be wasting my time.
I get that. No.
I've way too many things to do.
Shit. Okay,
Yeah.
so then maybe I am a girl. I don't know, man. Because I'm like, dude, I swear, dude, like that sounds like me though. That sounds like, dude, I love attention. You know, I've always loved attention.
Yeah.
And most of the time, I'm friend zoning people. But I don't want anything from anybody. You know, like that. I think I told you that last time. Like in the last couple of years, like it's gotten to a point where I don't need nor want anything from anybody. Like, and maybe that's why I'm at, you know, I'm single, I'm by myself. You know, all I do is focus on myself because I'm like, I don't really need anything from friends, which are, you know, no offense to my friends. If you're out there listening, like, I love you guys, but like, I don't need anything from you, you know? So like, if I'm not like, what's the word? If we're not bringing each other up or helping each other in some sort of way, I don't need to be around you.
Yeah, for sure.
And same thing with women. It's just like, oh, dude, like, you know what? I had a lot of girlfriends, you know, friends that were girls. And yeah, they had boyfriends. And I was clearly, what's the word? The emotional boyfriend, you know, where it's just like, oh, clearly you can't do this with your man. So now you're using me as somebody you can talk about your feelings. As a filter. And you know what? I knew back then what it was, and I don't do that anymore, but honestly, while I was doing it, I knew I was doing it. I was okay with it. I was just like, well, whatever, man. Like this.
I think at the time when we're younger, I think we have this mindset of like we have all the time in the world, and for me, it's just I can't waste time. That's my thing.
Hey, that's fair.
Because once again, I would do that same thing, and that's why nice guys finish last, because we are the placeholders for the actual boyfriend.
Yeah,
you're technically the filter as far as like what he should be doing, but
only if you want something.
Do you want something though?
Like right now?
Back then.
No.
Back then.
Okay, back then, what I wanted was obviously, again...
Exactly. Well, that's what I mean.
But you know, my intentions have changed now.
Exactly. So what I would say now, it's like, okay, so it's nice to be courteous, because I would say I'm still a good listener. So if there's a female that needs some sort of consultation as far as like, why are men this, why are men that? Because that's what usually the conversation leads to. That's what they want to talk about, is technically the opposite sex as well. And they'll always ask me, why are men trash? Why are men this? I'm like, okay, what type of men are you seeking, or what type of men are you wanting? And then I'll ask them the questions that they don't ask themselves, like, what do these men want from you? And then of course that's where a whole conversation goes into. But as far as like me answering the phone or me texting, I'm not going to do that. You know, if it's within the means, like it bumping heads at a store or bumping heads at a Starbucks, and okay, the conversation, okay, I'll talk and I'll listen. But I'm not going to waste my time as far as like, if you're a female and you're calling yourself a friend, I don't care about your ex-boyfriend. I don't care about your boyfriend. I don't care about your problems. It doesn't bring any value to me. So I don't care. And that's the number one rule that I had told Sarah when we became friends, when I had told her that we weren't friends. And she started laughing a month or two later. Where were the conversations going to? Exactly what I didn't want. But, you know, unfortunately,
she was testing you.
No. It's within them, you know, that's what they want to talk about.
Oh man.
That's what they want to talk about, because they know that we have answers. We solve solutions. That's what we are. We're the
problem solvers.
Exactly. And they understand this. But if they're not getting it from whomever they're talking to, who do they seek? Another male counterpart. Once again, I don't have that time. I am not going to be that guy. You know, if I am going to give you that type of attention, as far as like if I am actually giving attention, like on the phone or via text or DMs or wherever, or in person, it has to be met where we're getting to know each other for a reason. Okay. And that's it. But I am not going to do the whole, I am seeing you as a friend, because I already know in the back of my head what I'm thinking. It doesn't work that way for guys. And I think guys have to be very careful when it comes down to that type of time that they give out too, because we are meant to bring resource, like you said, to create. And if you're not creating via society, the opposite sex knows that too, and it's very unattractive. No matter how attractive you are physically, being attractive and actually having resources, that's just a down payment too. You have to have other criteria as far as like the charisma that we were talking about earlier. You have to have like this plateau of of a cake for them to actually see you longevity wise, because they already understand if you don't have charisma, if you're not attractive, if you don't have money, there's a time limit. So they're planning already a timeline for you to say, hey, I'm going to give you 2 to 3 years. And if you don't develop these certain skills, I already understand that my attraction for you is going to dwindle. And then already, once again, you become the placeholder for another guy, because they will keep you even though they're not attracted to you anymore.
Totally.
And that's where all of a sudden they break up with you, and a week later, what happens? They're already with another guy. I'm like, what happened?
Yeah.
But those are the things that we have to understand as guys. Like we can't give out that type of attention unless it's intentional or purposeful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, as far as like what you're doing right now, I think it's very important because you're developing yourself right now.
Absolutely.
As far as like the last podcast we were talking about, you had now transitioned from what I was doing, which was being a teacher.
Yeah.
And now you started your own company, which I congratulate.
Wow.
It's been about a month, boys. I told you I was gonna come back.
There you go.
And I'll tell you what I learned, where we're at. I did tell you.
But there you go. Even as a guy, that to me, that sounds amazing. You know, like just the idea that you want to grow as a person.
Yes.
You were at a place where you were making money. Mm-hmm. You're comfortable, but then what were you doing? You weren't fulfilling yourself.
No,
and that fulfillment was making you, yeah, exactly. You weren't really understanding where you were in life and who you're becoming as a person. And then you just had to understand, like, I need something for myself. And of course, I also need income.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The income is always there. I think my biggest issue has always been working for somebody else. And I think this is just human nature, because you had said something interesting I wanted to actually go back to about Sarah, and about how you were like, you told her, hey, don't talk about this shit. And then like 2 months later, she started talking about this shit. And I swear to you, it's like you tell someone to go north, they go south. You say, be here at 2:45, and then they're here 30 minutes later.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing. I care about.
Sorry, I just had to
no worries,
for
no
a
worries.
second.
See, I care about Sarah genuinely.
Yeah.
When she does that, what do? I go into guide mode. I look at her as a guy even more. So I banter to her as a guy to the point where she has to tell me to stop. I'm like, there you go. That's the difference. I don't want to hear about that. You don't want to have me talk to you as a guy. So we have to meet each other in the middle. So understand there's boundaries between us.
That's boundaries, baby. That's all it is, man. In every relationship, it's always about boundaries. It's like how you said, I can make a joke, and if I see you make a face, I'm just like, oh, you don't like those jokes. I just won't do that again. And that's what we're doing all day, every day, with every single person we meet, not just women, but with men and other women. And it's just, how do you say this? It's interesting to see that, at least now, because again, now that I've been, realizing that, I don't like working for people. It always went back to that idea of, people that I work for don't respect my boundaries. Because again, why would they? I'm at the lower end of the totem pole. Everybody on top is like, well, you need this to survive. So what else are you going to do? And on a lot of the times with our relationships, it's a hierarchy. It's like, if they think they're on top, then of course they're not going to respect your boundaries. But nobody truly is on top. Yeah. It's just one of those, let's see who can make it up to the hill first. And whoever gets to the top of the hill knocks down anybody else who gets up there. And then it's just a battle of, okay, who can stay on top of the hill? And then now we're playing King of the Hill. And now we're like, okay, that's all we're doing. And we're doing this in our relationships, in our work relationships, in just our normal environments. Like, so I learned this about myself just with these last few years of just me, again, isolating in my little cave. Yeah. I was like, motherfuckers don't listen to me. Like, why am I giving them my time? Like, this doesn't make sense. And the more I started to think about that, the angrier I would get. And this anger would just start to fester. It was not depression anymore. It was just anger. It was like, dude, how are you going to keep going into the same corporate job that you've been doing for about 8 years?
Were you resentful with yourself? Or
yes.
Was it just pure anger?
It was bitterness and anger and resentfulness, because it's like, come on, dude, you watched your daddy go out there and hustle, man. Why can't you just get off your ass? Go do it. And I would, like, not to say that I didn't. It's just, because of how comfortable I was with my steady income, I was like, well, I don't need to.
Yeah.
Why would I need to? It's all about intent
Yeah, and purpose.
and purpose.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that a lot of people don't actually question as far as like the why. Why am I working these many hours and why am I making this much money? Because yeah, money brings freedoms, you know, as far as like what you could do with your lives, but also it comes with time, you know, like the exchange of money with time or time with money. And also, but you have to question, why am I doing this? Is it fulfilling me in any type of way? Am I creating something for myself or for someone that I want to come up with?
Else.
And I think that's something that I had to question myself, because I started this podcast and at the time I was actually starting to make money and I didn't know why. And that's why I started bringing in people that I admired or people that were already in their professions and they're already there, you know, and I wanted to ask them why, like, why are you doing this the way that you're doing this? And of course, everybody had their own answers, but I wanted to hear from them, hoping that they would answer my own question, you know, but it took me a while to understand why I decide to work the amount of time that I do. And until this, I think it was this year or the end of last year, that it became more of like, oh, it's because at one point you understand you want to have a family. And yeah, I have skills when it comes to creating stuff, and I have skills now to selling stuff, and now I have money, but what's the reason? What's my why? And then it became more of like, oh, it's because I know one day I will be looked at as a provider, and I don't want my kids to go through the same things that I went through, you know, as a kid. I want to actually give them the opportunities that I wasn't given. And, you know, hopefully they'll be able to actually go and it's all right. Once again, it's his first day.
Oh, no, it's okay. I heard it and I was like, bro, push that button. Come on, dude.
It's his first day.
Damn, put me on blast, Omar. You got something against me today, buddy.
Hey, bro, I've been waiting for you, dude. I've been waiting for you.
Yeah, but like I said, that's my why, you know, and that's the reason why I could wake up at the time that I wake up. Like even today, what did I say?
I
went closer to Vegas today. I drove closer, like Barstow. God knows where I went. Really early because I knew we had this set up. And then I didn't want to change anything just because I had work. This fulfills me, you know, as well. But I also know that I need money to provide this to fulfill me as well. But I also know that that type of work will then fulfill my why. So it all comes together. So that's why I wake up at the time that I wake up, do the things that I need to do in the morning, go do the things that I need to do, come back here, edit, set up, and then you came in. How was your day? You're like, oh, it was an easy day. And I'm like, oh, bro, I'm struggling. I need a Red Bull.
Yeah, I need a Red Bull. No, man, it's been easy for me, man. I don't envy you, at least not today. But that was me the last 2 days, though. I told you, I got my wisdom teeth taken out. And oh my God, if you've never had any teeth extracted from you, it was nuts, dude. Like I was shaking. I was like, it's cold sweats and sweating at night while I was cold. And I was like, this doesn't even make sense. My body was going into shock because I'd never experienced any kind of pain like that. I've never like broken a bone or gotten surgery. So like when that happened to me, I was like, oh, I was out, dude. I didn't work for like about a week. And dude, that week where I wasn't doing anything, I was losing my mind, dude. I was like, okay, what do I do? I guess I'll just sit here and you know, just watch TV, I guess. And I hadn't done that in years, dude. And so like once my mouth started feeling better on Wednesday, boom, I was like, all right, cool, time to go work, you know. And again, I told you about my other business. I've been working that more because I'm still teaching. teaching, but my clientele is very small. I'm not trying to take
plug it in.
So like I am still a teacher again, but I'm not taking any more students. The only students I take
no more students
are people who are genuinely serious about their growth. Only serious students. But what I'm doing now is, again, the cleaning company, which is AV Cleaning Company. And, you know, I have a website, www.avcleaningcompany.com.
Sponsored by Red Bull.
Sponsored by Red Bull. And Irvin, too, actually. Thank you for allowing me to plug. but that's been going great. It's been a month since I've started that with my brother-in-law, and the website's been getting more traction. We've been getting more reviews, more work. I'm meeting with a house broker tomorrow. I told you I got another job where if this goes well, then you know what, I might have some realtors in my corner.
There you go.
And that's you know. That's where I want to be, because that would be consistent work and money that's coming in.
Yeah. You the thing is that I think I had a conversation with someone randomly about this. It's like when you seek your purpose or your North Star, it seems like your dreams tend to then follow you rather than you seeking them, because now you're seeking an alignment that you should have been seeking, but because you're so comfortable in an area that you felt comfortable, that it kind of like dwindled.
Yeah.
And I think unfortunately we, as humans, and I think I had spoken about this on my last podcast, we as humans, we want to feel comfortable and we don't want to feel discomfort, and not seeking discomfort unfortunately makes us even more discomfort.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
it's I think the plunge that you're taking right now, because it's similar to my job. You either go look for the work in order for you to get paid, in order for you to actually feed yourself, in order for you to pay your bills or whatever you're paying, or you don't work and you don't get nothing of those things.
No.
Or you could actually go do the 9 to 5 again and actually get paid the little money that you were getting paid, and then be looked at as a little person that you're being looked at,
which
in a
I
corporate
wasn't okay
job.
with. Yeah.
And then literally just later on in life, you're then looking back and say, hey, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? You know, now that I'm 50 or now that I'm 60, could I then now do what I should have done with the energy now that I lack?
Oof.
You know?
Yeah.
And those are the things that I do like to tell the younger guys too, when you're in your 20s or in your early 20s, 25s, even late 20s, you have this gift of energy, you know, that unfortunately we are now within our 30s, right?
I'm 32, baby. It's just going.
It's dwindling.
It's dwindling.
And of course, we're not that old to the point where we can't actually do the things that we need to do. But still, that we don't have anymore. You know, that I remember I used to wake up, didn't have to stretch.
Same.
You know, just like, oh, I'm gonna go jogging.
Cool. I'm just gonna get up, cold.
Right.
You know, and run down the street. Nah.
But now it's a little different now. Now I have to stretch. You know, now I have to do certain things for me to actually go and warm up and actually do what I need to do if I go to the gym or whatever. So I think it's one of those things that we have to understand where we are in our lives in order for us to accomplish the things that we need to do. And I think that comes back to the same question, like understanding your why. Like, why are you doing this? And like the longevity, as far as like now you're doing this because it's fulfilling you, because you're now building your own company. You're your own boss, you know. You're no longer having to listen to this person. And of course it comes with its own stresses too.
Oh, absolutely,
you know?
man.
You're having to now puzzle in pieces that you didn't have to puzzle in before because they were doing it for you. You know, the scheduling or
or the
getting
managing,
the clients,
getting the money, you
the
know,
invoices.
Like, oh, dude,
exactly.
Like, that's been a pain.
Exactly, but you're learning, and from that discomfort, you know, you're becoming a better person.
Absolutely,
You know?
I think so. I mean, I
know.
Oh,
so.
you know so.
I
You've
know
known me
so.
for a long
I know
time.
so.
So can you vouch for me? Tell the ladies. Tell them all out there.
Tell the ladies.
Tell them about me, bro. Tell them about
Hit
me.
up Omar.
Oh man. Oh,
And
you're
Enrique,
funny.
the same question for you, since you're out in the peaceful world of
Behind the scenes.
Go to your angle, bro.
Yeah. Irvin got tired.
What's up, guys?
No. I want to include Mr. Enrique as well.
Yes,
I don't
yes.
want you to fall asleep.
No, I'm good. Go for it. What was your question?
Do you understand your why?
My why?
Yeah.
My North Star.
Yes. Do you understand your why?
I believe I do.
What's
You
your
know,
why? Go to your camera angle.
You want me to tell you my why of my North Star? Well, I think I like to say that to tell my perspective. I feel like I'm on this planet, on this earth. I experience things and I hear people's stories, and I have a way on putting that out there for people, for people to maybe they don't never felt or experienced that situation before. But I'm able to convey that message to the point like, oh, I can see myself in their shoes now, in a comedic way, musically. So I have that gift that could just transmit that message for those who don't understand certain things. And you know, I'm gonna do what I can with the comedy, the laughter of it, the podcasting, my perspective of the world. That's how I always felt in this on this planet. For a long time, I felt like I'm here for a reason.
Yeah. Is that what wakes you up in the morning?
What wakes me up in the morning is my daughter going, "Wake up, Dad!"
That's right.
Wake up. That's why it's a lot right now. It's a lot of juggling.
I couldn't even imagine, being able doing your entertainment.
Yeah.
You do your podcast and then you actually do comedy, stand-up comedy.
Mm-hmm. I travel to the city. That's a pain in the butt too, and try to schedule time to do my podcast. Yeah. It's a lot. I have a wife.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say you're a spouse and you have a daughter and your father.
It's just a lot. It's a lot,
But bro, do you have like a planner or something? How do you organize all this?
I use my phone as a planner. I sticky notes. I'm starting to use a planner. Okay. That's something I've been doing. Okay. But, I feel God's blessing me right now in this moment. I'm telling you, man, I feel the blessings coming. They're falling already. I see them. I see the victory line. I'm gonna be pretty successful, bros.
No, that's good. That's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear.
Man, I like that.
I feel it. I'm walking down to home. I'm going. The other day, I went to go buy a refrigerator at Lowe's, and I'm wearing this black and red stripes, sweater, and I'm walking, and I turn around. I got 5 to 6 dudes following me, and I'm like, "Hey, can we get help?" I was like, "I'm looking for help too." And they thought I worked there. And then from there we started talking. It's like, you have this great energy. What do you do? I'm an entertainer. They follow me on Instagram. And it was just it was a time to really solidify my place on this planet.
There you go.
To tell me that I am going the right direction. There you go. And it's, the North Star is pretty bright. I see it.
There you go. And I think that's something that I had mentioned on the last podcast that we had all together. It's the reason why I met you was because you're doing what you need to do, which is your podcast, your stuff that I see on your Instagram. Same thing with Ramses. The reason why I met him is because he decided to go and take the plunge and start a podcast. And now we're all friends, but if it weren't for the reasons that you guys started or the reasons why you guys now are doing it, the amount of times that I see you guys like being consistent, because there are a lot of people that want to do things and they say they want to do things and they start things but never actually continue doing them.
Absolutely.
And then for me, that just doesn't really mean anything. Just those are just words. And I see a lot of those people, talking a lot. And for me, it's more, I don't want it to be around me if it's that. I want it to be where if I see you being consistent and I see that your content is actually entertaining, because Enrique's a funny guy.
Oh, he's a funny dude.
He's a really funny guy.
I love your shit, dude.
Thank you.
And I'm always going to shout him out, until, he decides to stop, and until then, I'm going to invite him to do my pod or come in and do the switchboard, at some point he'll get a little bit better at it.
You'll be surprised.
Hey, this is the roast Enrique episode. This is what it is.
He'll be the professional switching board.
He's known as the switcher.
Yeah, but it's one of those things. I want to encourage those that are actually doing the things that they need to do within themselves. And like I said, or what he said, his North Star right now is shining. Yeah. And the reason why, it's because he's following his purpose. It's in line with him right now. And not only am I seeing it, strangers are seeing it, Yeah. And I think just starting that conversation where people actually feel that energy.
Yeah.
And you actually say, "Hey, follow me on Instagram. You could actually watch me," because now we're noticing that the algorithm sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't get those viewers that we once got. So doing it the way that we used to do it back in the days where we didn't have Instagram and we had to send out the flyers like, "Hey, come to our show." That's what we need to do now. Like, do the actual work person to person, which I think will work a lot better, if anything, because that person will remember you.
Yeah.
When they saw you randomly at Home Depot and they're like, "Hey, I remember this guy," and then they'll tell their friend and like, yeah, this guy did this and he invited me here. So now conversation from their part starts a lot more genuine too, and it's a lot stronger rather than say, "Hey, I found this guy on Instagram and I like his post," and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
it was incredible.
Man.
Just hearing somebody say, "What do you do?"
Yeah.
This white man, he looks like he's a business, like a lawyer. He's just, "What do you do?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, right off the bat, I'm an entertainer, baby.
Yeah,
that's
right.
He's like, that's right. I see it. Keep doing what you're doing, he says. And I'm like, yo, this is unreal. It's happening, man. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm blessed. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, and I want you to continue doing what you're doing, because I genuinely think you're a really funny guy.
Thank you, man.
And every time that we've spoken on the phone, or anytime you have come through to the studio, I feel like it's easy to talk to you.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that's not small chat. Like we've connected already, where to the point where I'm like I said, I'm not walking on eggshells when I'm talking to Enrique. I'm just talking to him, which I like. I don't want to be the type of person that if you're around me, I have to watch my mouth, because I know I say certain things that it might offend certain people, but it is what it is,
No, that's okay. And like I said, same, man. I've always hung around with people who just left, right, center, north, like they're all over the place, man. And like, I don't really sit on a side. I don't sit on a side. So when I listen to people talk, I just hear them talking, regardless of what they have to say. Sometimes I hear some people say some hateful shit, and I'm just like, man, you sound angry. Like, oh, okay, that's what that is. It's what do we call that? Empathy, I guess, when you can really listen to somebody and you can really pinpoint where it's coming from. Yeah. Like, oh, I remember sounding like that. Yeah. It may not be a subject I agree with, or not even a subject that I talk about, but it's something that I can listen and I can hear the emotion. Yeah.
No, I can, I can definitely relate, because I think it was last year when I first saw you for the first time for years.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't even know that you still worked at Guitar Center.
That's right.
And I don't even remember. I just went into Guitar Center for. I don't even know what I went into Guitar Center.
I think you wanted to buy an amp that's
there.
chilling in that corner.
I remember we mentioned that on the last where we were with Enrique as well. Just went in there and I'm like, hey, Omar, like I haven't seen you in like a couple years. And all of a sudden we're just kind of backtracking and what are you up to, what you've been up to. And you're like, oh, I have a studio. I'm still teaching. I want to do this and that. And then all of a sudden we started talking about what? Relationships. And right away you told me something I didn't want to hear, and I started making fun of you.
Yeah.
Well, that's because we have that type of relationship.
Totally.
To the point where I could be 100% transparent with you, to the point where I know if it came off a certain way, you weren't going to take it a certain way, because I already know you from experience, Totally. And that's what I want to keep around when it comes to people around me. I don't want to just be saying certain things because it sounds nice and it might make you feel better for that day. No, I want to make you feel a certain way so you could better yourself.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where the conversation led up to, where, like I said, you had said something and I didn't like it. And what did I do? I know you're a jokester, hey, so man. I had to make fun of you.
Hey. I no offense, man. Like I said, I have thick skin, man. I was gonna say my parents were narcissists, so like there's nobody who can hurt me. All right,
narcissism runs in the blood, buddy.
Hey.
I see it,
boy. But yeah, of course, that wasn't the intent to hurt you, though. It was just more of, I know how guys think too, and I know how guys listen. As far as like how we react, it's. Unfortunately, we're very hard-headed, like we need to be told a certain way. We can't be told nicely, unfortunately, because nicely just doesn't work for us. Nicely is just something that, our mothers will do because they're nurturing.
Absolutely.
But when it comes to male to male, I have to tell you straight on, I'm like, bro, what do you like? No, stop it.
And again, I never forgot the conversation. I genuinely never did.
And I hope you don't.
It was one of the, what's the word? I have like little pinpoint, like not pinpoints. I guess there are moments in my life, in my timeline, where I can notice, oh, this conversation or this interaction led to a series of thoughts that have now led me to this moment. Like I will never forget, man. I will never forget this one conversation I had with my cousin's boyfriend. Again, I love this dude with all of my heart. He's a very successful business owner. And again, he's taking care of my cousin and everything. And I love this dude with all my heart, genuinely. Yeah. But I remember when I first met him, I got kind of drunk and I was in my emotions, man. And he had said something to me. And from that moment on, like that, his voice always resonated in my head, because I was like, oh, you made me see something in that moment that I did not know, because again, I was too drunk off of my own emotions, where I was like, oh, I'm not even hearing myself genuinely speak. I'm just reacting and responding to the stimulus or to these emotions. And when he pointed it out to me, I was like, oh shit. And then I carried that on And again, same thing with this conversation. It was another one of those little pushes where it was like, oh, you know what? That I didn't look at myself that way either. Like, and because of that, like I started to change certain things.
Yeah.
I understood what you meant when you said
Yeah.
it. I didn't take it offensive
Yeah.
like somebody else would.
Yeah,
It was
of
just
course.
kind of like, oh, like you see me in the shitter, dude. Like you see me down here lower than dirt. Like, and what you're saying to me is get up from your ass.
Yeah, exactly.
And go do something.
And that's kind of what I like now that you're here, because once again, if you weren't going to do the things that you had told me that you were going to do, I wouldn't have invited you.
Totally.
Or
yeah.
I would have literally kept you in the same box that I, once again, was keeping you in, because I did care about you.
Yeah.
And of course I do have a lot of friends in that same box still. Because I've had conversations with them, and I need them to bring themselves up too, because at some point I'm going to need them as well. You know, it's an equal exchange. And unfortunately, a lot of people, like in your past, those guys with your car, they see something that you have to provide, and they will take advantage.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and that's just human nature.
That's human nature. Everybody will do that to
Exactly.
you. Yeah, friends, family, girlfriends, boyfriends, parents, cousins, like everybody. If they see you and they're like, you have something I want. If you don't draw a line and say, look, man, if you want this, you're gonna have to meet me halfway, or you know what? If you're gonna cross my line, well, guess what? Then that means at some point I'm gonna do the same. And we're gonna have to be able to understand each other and be able to say, is this our relationship? Is this okay? If not, then I don't need you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I'll go back to my cave. I'm good
100%.
in my cave,
And
bro.
I think that's why I'm a little bit more direct when it comes to actual friends, like yourself or like my friend Sarah. I'm like very brutally honest with her. I'm like very direct with her. Sometimes she does get upset with me, but it is what it is. You know, you either take it or you don't. And like your cousin, you mentioned he's a business guy.
Oh, my cousin's boyfriend. Yes.
Oh, your cousin's boyfriend. When it comes to business people, like they are dealing, like now you're dealing with actual employees, you know, that you have to, hey, where's my invoice? It's still pending, you know, that kind of thing. So you have to learn how to speak a certain way because it's direct. It's no longer a friendship exchange. Hey, I gave you a product. You promised me income. The income hasn't been received on my end, and I need this to live off of. So now you're going a little bit more direct. And I think it's very important. Like, once again, this is why it's important for people to get out of this, their box of comfort, so that they can actually understand how the real world works. Unfortunately, this is a country where we are given certain things, and it's easy to stay comfortable here because, you know, like, when was the last time you saw a homeless man that wasn't overweight, you know?
True. I was gonna say, but you know what? I don't go down to LA too much. They got a bigger homeless population.
Yeah. Of course. And of course it comes down to like the drugs that they're using. Sometimes they're very fit too.
Hey man, I'm
like,
seen
bro,
it.
like where's your gym at?
I was like, why don't you go work? Stop asking me for money. I will give people money, but sometimes, I mean, I pick and choose. If you're missing a leg, or you're missing all your teeth,
oh, for sure,
or you're in a wheelchair, like I'm like, oh, okay, I see that your life choices have led you to this moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me help you out just for a second.
Exactly.
You know, and it makes me feel good. It's a selfish thing.
Yeah.
It's more for me, not for them.
No,
you know,
for sure.
Makes you feel good.
Yeah.
It does make me feel good.
I'm going to heaven, God.
No. I ain't winning no points doing that. That's for me. That's very selfish.
ego points.
But like I'm saying, it's very easy
It's
for
ego
us
points.
to
I like
ego
that.
points.
Yeah,
it's very
ego
easy
points.
for us to actually feel comfortable in this country. You know, we have a lot of things that we are given, and unfortunately, a lot of people don't see it as a utility for them to actually become something better for themselves. They get comfortable. You know, it's easy to, like, I see so many wanted signs now.
Yeah.
We're these people that are asking for money. You know, go work. You know, I'm coming from another country. I had to create my work.
I was gonna say, dude, that's coming from you, dude. Like you literally, like you came from another country.
I couldn't even work at McDonald's,
bro, and you worked.
I had to create my work or my jobs in order for me to feed myself, in order for me to pay my gas, or in order for me to pay the insurance, or in order for me to pay whatever I needed for school. You know, it wasn't given to me. I didn't get FAFSA or whatever they give in college. You know, I had to actually, here's cash. This is what I'm paying you in full for my textbook, for the actual classes. So I understand that it's given to us, but for some reason, a lot of people feel entitled to everything that we're given.
No, I get that.
And then from there, it comes from the victim mentality. So right now, I think you're in a really great position to starting to create or your own business, because there's too many people in that same box without what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
In that box where like, oh no, I don't want to work and I want to play the victim and I want to be given everything.
Well,
But
see here, man.
now what I'm complimenting you on is
Okay.
the idea that because there's so many of them and there's so few of you,
Oh, I see.
your business is going to thrive off of that.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
that's how my business thrived off of. When I started this company, the real estate photography, videography, the videography and photography within this realm of creation was already there, but they didn't want to do the extras. The people that were before me, I came in, learned their skills, performed better, faster, provided more, and then all of a sudden, it then all came to me because they made it easy for me. Same thing with you. If you keep doing what you're doing within now your new job, those people are going to see you and they're going to basically say, hey, why is he getting this? Why is he getting that? Why didn't I get this? I'm like, because you didn't want to.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is take advantage of the idea that there's less of you than them. You just have to continue doing it.
Totally. But like you said, man, I was in that box too, man. I can also empathize, and I can see these people who are just genuinely not capable, at least not in the moment, to be able to say, oh, I'm drunk off of my pity and my victimhood, and I need to get out of this. Like, I did it too.
Yeah.
Like, it's the only reason why I know now that, oh, I created this situation. I created it. The reason why I don't have anything is my fault. It's not because of I didn't have the opportunities or people weren't helping me or not even that I had the ideas. I'm a great ideas man. I have million of ideas and I could have pulled the trigger on anyone. And it wasn't until, again, like I said, the last few years, actually, I think I want to say COVID, when COVID hit, that's when I was like, what's going on? And then that's when I mean, I wasn't working. So like I slowed down enough to like really assess my situation and say, why am I getting these results? Why am I here? And the more I started to look at my situation, I didn't have anybody to blame. And I think that's the problem in the with anybody who plays victim.
Yeah, you took accountability through your actions as far as like what you saw in the time that you were seeing it.
Absolutely.
But what was the last straw
hard.
though? What was the last straw? What was the literally the one? Was it a conversation? Was it a person? Was it your loneliness? Was it what was it?
You know what? Oh man, that's a tough one because there were a lot of little moments. I don't even want to say it was one giant moment because the problem with me is I laugh because I was like, yeah, that is a fucking problem. Is that I'm hard-headed.
All guys are.
Hey, look, and
that's why I had to literally yell at you. Omar.
Listen, and you are not the only one who has done that. That's what I'm saying. Like I've had a lot of people like you in my life. I just didn't see them before. And now in retrospect, I can see them because now I'm able to slow down. You know, before it was go, and people get stuck here. They get stuck in the motions and in the movements and in the relationships and all of that. They don't have time to slow down and ask themselves some questions that are going to hurt and that are going to make you reevaluate yourself. Like, and that's what I had. I had time now, and because I had time, again, little stuff. You know, I started to notice this. I remembered a conversation here. I remembered another conversation there. And then I just started to make a little timeline of cause and effect. I was like,
gotcha.
Oh, this is why I'm here.
Okay.
And it all started to come together. Oh yeah, okay. I guess it was a moment. It was one just final, just like, okay, I'm done, dude. I am done. It was yeah, dude. It was that corporate job, man. I had my guitar teacher, my original guitar teacher was my store manager for a long time, and he, again, I love this dude. His name is Daniel Nesmith. Yeah, I love this dude to death, man. He allowed me to do whatever I wanted. And the guy before him, Jimmy Long, also allowed me to do whatever I wanted. So this is what provided my level of comfort in this corporate job. But finally, you know, after, you know, realizing that I was unhappy and that I had nobody to blame but myself, I realized that, oh, okay, I'm only happy in this situation because they allow me to do whatever I want. Well, when he was finally sick of the company and left, we had some new people come in. And these people, they didn't know Omar. They didn't give a fuck about Omar. They were just like, bro, corporate says to do this, you're going to do this. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I've never done this before. I've been here for 8 years. What the fuck you mean you're going to tell me what to do? Like, and the more I said, don't do this. Like I said, this is where I was going about, east. You tell them to go left, they go right. The more I told them not to do it, the more they would do it. Almost like to challenge me to say, oh, really? Oh, you're telling me not to do that when I'm above you? Well, then let me show you that you don't actually matter. And that's how I started to feel. And then I started to feel these feelings that were very familiar. They were the same feelings I would feel when I was a little kid, and when I would try to talk to my parents about something or some older person, and they're just like, "You don't know anything," or "Shut the fuck up, you don't actually know what's going on," or "Oh, you think you know." And I started to feel this, and it would make me madder than I've ever felt before. It's just pure anger. And when I realized, oh, I'm bringing home to work. I'm bringing home into my relationships. Oh, you know what? I don't like this anymore. And that was enough for me to be like, then I need to change. Because God knows, man, there's only certain things you can escape from. And there are certain things are your choice. You're able to say, you know what? I'm not going to go down that alleyway. Yeah. If I have to go over here, then I'm going to avoid that alley and I'm going to go this way instead. So that's what I decided to do. I said, you know what? There's certain things I can't control, but seeing as my entire life has been, my problem, the way I react to it, or respond to it, then I'm going to choose to react and respond differently to this instead of continually to just accept this and get angry and be bitter. I'm not going to be bitter or angry. I just walked back there, gave my 2 weeks notice, and I felt light. I felt lighter than I'd ever felt in like years. And just it was so amazing to me because I made the choice. I was the one who said, I'm taking this back. I'm going to do something about this. I'm not going to allow my emotions to blame you. I'm just going to deal with this. So now I'm here.
There you go.
And I'm like, all right, cool, dude. Like, hey, fucking.
Which I congratulate you.
Yeah,
you
man.
know, that I think it's amazing because now I could see you more.
Yeah, I have a lot more free time, and that's again. And you talked about your North Star, man. My North Star is pretty selfish. I mean, yes, like I want to provide for my family. I don't have a wife. I don't have kids. I'm 32. I don't have anybody other than my actual family. My mom, my little brother, my nephew that my dead sister left behind, and my sister and her fiance. Like I love these people with all of my heart. Yeah, and genuinely. I just want them to be okay. Yeah. I want them to not have to worry about who's going to pay their bill, how they're going to pay their bills. I want them to feel like they did when they were kids, where somebody or something was taking care of them. Yeah. And I want to give them the freedom. Yeah. I want to give myself that freedom because with that freedom, then I don't have to teach anymore. And if I don't have to teach anymore, I told you I'm a musician. I could just focus on my own music and I can focus on me playing guitar because I want to and not because I have to teach little Timmy how to play Master of Puppets next week.
Poor Timmy.
Oh, fuck Timmy, dude. You know how many people ask me for Master of Puppets, bro? I am not a metal player.
Because of Stranger Things?
Yes, dude. Everybody loves Master of Puppets right now. Metallica, everyone loves it. Which, by the way, oh man, there are $1,200 tickets, dude. If you're trying to see Metallica in LA,
it's not me.
Nope, not me either. Not me. Hey, I didn't like Stranger Things that much. I'll tell you that, man. So, but that's where my North Star is. It's very selfish because I just want to be free.
Yeah, I wouldn't say you're selfish. I think you're selfless.
I don't know, man. Like I said, I don't have peace of mind knowing that my people are suffering.
Yeah, but I think the selfishness becomes more out of your, if you would have stayed in that job that you were in where you're being provided, if that guy wasn't, or if he decided not to go and do his other thing, you would have felt just as comfortable because then another person would have came in and, hey, now made you feel discomfort in your corporate job where you could have stayed there because it was already given to you already. Like the position was there for you. The students were already there for you. Now you're being selfish because you're not growing as a person. Now you took yourself out. You're now being uncomfortable because now you're having to put yourself in a situation where you have to seek your students or seek your clients for your new business and then seek that invoice because they didn't pay for it or whatever, but you're doing it for a reason, not just for yourself. You just mentioned your family. That's not selfish. That's selfless because it's other people.
Whew, maybe I have a backwards way of looking at it because, because again, every time I think about them, and what they're dealing with, it gives me anxiety. It makes me upset.
That's good though.
Yeah, but like, I want to get rid of that feeling.
It's never going to go
That's
away.
not, no?
No.
Well, because I was like, oh, bro, like if they're okay, then I'm going to be okay. That's good.
No, it's never going to go
very
away.
selfish.
It's never going to go away.
Money doesn't fix everything.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
No, the idea that because once again, we are providers, we are protectors as guys. It's biology. It's ingrained in us that we want to protect and provide. It's literally, that's what allows us to be men, allows us to wake up in the cold and go bricklayer, construction workers or whatever. It's uncomfortable, for us to do that stuff. We still have the same type of skin that females have, but we are willing to do it because it brings joy to us, understanding that what we're doing, even though it's uncomfortable, it's providing safety. It's providing some sort of household or bread that's coming into the table. That's the discomfort that I'm talking about, but it's never going to go away. It's just literally, it's energy, just like anxiety. It's energy. It's just how you're using and how you're thinking about it. You can't think about it in a negative way. Just think about it as in a positive way. This is energy that's given to me. Now just use it. That's how I use it. If I'm anxious, that means I need to work more. Or if I'm thinking too much, that means I need to work more. Or if I'm feeling a certain way, go work more because you're not doing something. You're not allowing yourself to do what you need to do. You're not following your North Star, like you're saying. You're doing it, but you're not actually doing it. A lot of people just half-ass it.
Yeah.
And now just go full in.
I hear this analogy about, it's not much of an analogy, but it's a real thing where they compared a pig, right? There's a certain pig, right? Pudgy pink pig. But if you put that same pink pig into the wild, that same pink little chubby pig will start growing horns.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Because of all the stress that is going through.
Evolution.
And the stress will create these chemicals and therefore creating these horns out of this pig. From being fat and pudgy and pink and just eating all day to living in the wilderness with all that stress. Causing him to grow those horns to protect himself.
Isn't it tusks, the teeth?
The teeth, yeah, one of those things. But the whole idea is that the same thing goes for men. A lot of men are just pink pigs, just eating, wasting their life away.
Omar, stop being pink.
And there's a lot of that.
Look how dark I am compared to you.
I was just gonna say, I was like, look at that.
You
dude.
need to be on the sun, bro.
I got that olive tone. I don't think I'm pink, bro. I think it's more olive.
You a piggy, bro. No. But I'm
Oink,
saying,
oink.
what I'm saying is that it seems like you keep saying the innate nature of men to go out there to use the anxiety. I think it's just more, I don't think it's like that anymore. I don't think men are like that anymore.
I don't think they're like that anymore because society has made everything very comfortable for us. We want entertainment, use our phones, We want food, go to the gas station, Uber Eats. We don't have to even drive anymore. We don't even have to drive anymore because we have someone to drive us, Ubers.
Yeah, so our nature self of man is kind of diminishing. It's lessened. And so the way you're thinking, yeah, that's great. But it's not the same anymore.
It's not the same anymore, but it's important for us to actually go and do them for ourselves. That's why I said in our last pod, what do I do in the morning? I go to the gym.
Right.
I force myself to go to the gym. I don't want to go to the gym. It's cold. I don't want to go in my car. It's cold.
What time are you going to the gym?
Around 5:30 or 6.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. It's cold.
Oh.
And then, of course, what do? I don't like reading, but I read. It's uncomfortable for me because I'm a slow reader, but I know that I lack certain things and I need to get better at those things. But in order for me to actually get better at reading, I have to force myself to read. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You have to make yourself do certain things because we live in a society that everything is comfortable.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like I said, unfortunately, there's a lot of guys now, like I said, they're in this little box of entitlement and you're now out of the box where I know if you keep going, you will succeed because there's less of you and there's more of them.
Yeah. There's a lot more people that do nothing than people that do something. You know what I mean? It's just, I think that's just the future it's going, You I don't know if that's a good thing. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, this might turn the conversation somewhere else, you know.
Go ahead.
But you
you
know,
got to
there's
say?
there's a high percentage of children now. They're, you know, it used to be 2 and 1 families that had an autistic kid. Now it's 3.
That's crazy.
There's a great amount of children being born, being autistic, low functioning. And I'm not sure that's only in America. That's all I know. But knowing that the future of children are autistic, and there's nothing wrong being autistic.
No. Yeah,
No,
but
my
you're
nephew's
mentioning
autistic,
that
the future is that
the percentage is growing.
growing.
Yeah.
And the amount of people that want to help children like that is less.
Yeah.
So it's a weird world, man. I think the new age is coming, and we got to learn how to adapt, because the new world is comfortability. The new world is the new world order. Hey, what's up, everybody?
The new world order.
But yeah, but
World
seriously,
order.
you know?
That's right.
Yeah,
Hey, I'm not an Illuminati, I swear.
When you join, I feel like Omar would join the Illuminati.
Nah, dude.
Come
I
on.
swear to you,
Come
dude.
on.
Listen, no. I swear to you, dude. That's been an irrational fear whenever because again, my original dream, which I had to get away from just because of my feelings towards it. But my original dream was to be a rock star. And I mean, that's still there. That's why I want my freedom to at one point, like I said, once I am free, and then I say, what's next? I want to be able to look and say, okay, maybe why don't you try being a rock star again?
Yeah.
I'm like, there is a honest to God, like irrational fear that says, oh yeah, but if you become a rock star, you might actually become really successful. And if that happens, well, you can't get to the top without people saying, yo, stop, stop.
The gatekeepers.
The gatekeepers. And these gatekeepers, again, you hear about them. They're, Illuminati, Illuminati, these people.
Pants down, boy.
You know what? And I'm genuinely afraid of that. In my head, I would imagine it like, oh yeah, somebody would approach me and be like, you better fall in line or but,
It's like that whether it's Illuminati or not. I mean, it's, certain workplaces, there's a gatekeeper that you have to please. You do the great job. It's like, there's no way we can deny this person. He's so fucking good. Get in. Or like, you want to get in?
Is that a genuine discomfort that you're putting yourself in so that you don't become that rock star? Or is that literally
good question,
what you actually believe that could happen or that is happening? Because I've heard, I'm not saying that there is.
Look, man,
suspicions. I'm not a part of it. Please don't come after my podcast. It's just growing.
What'd you say? What you trying to say?
I'm just saying, I've gotten to the point where I understand that I don't know it all.
Yeah.
Whether I hear something, I don't know if it's truth or not. So if I don't know if it's truth or not, it's safe to assume that it's a possibility then. So whenever I, hear stuff like this, and I hear stories, and this person died mysteriously, like by hanging themselves, and I'm just like, okay,
Chester.
Oh no!
No, shut up, dude! Shut up! Don't bring that juju on this podcast. Don't bring that juju.
Oh no!
No, but it makes me question.
Yeah,
and that's all that's happening.
Yeah.
It's enough to make me go, oh. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if that's a possibility.
Yeah.
Whether it's a defense mechanism to try to protect myself from actually seeking the discomfort of going out there and being a rock star. Yeah, there might be some underlying unconscious psychological blah, blah, blah that's going on. But as far as like the story goes, it's just something that's always just been kind of
kind of
back
taking a shower.
You know
I
I
don't
mean?
know if I should take the Illuminati deal.
I don't know.
Taking a shower, thinking about that.
I'm just curled up in the corner like, oh fuck,
having
man.
nightmares.
Like I can't talk about my genuine opinion. And you know what? That's something that I already struggle with as far as like fear, because again, it took a long time for me to say, I don't need to be everybody's friend and to actually truly speak my mind.
Yeah.
So like that's an extension of it as far as like, oh yeah, if I get to the top, you know what? I like to inspire. I like to talk about certain topics, like I said, and I don't want to feel like I'm on eggshells, like wondering, oh, what is this media gonna think? Or what is this group of people gonna think? Oh, I might be fucking with somebody's money and they might fuck with me.
The
you
money.
know, like and that. Again, that's true in my entire life because I, would worry about like, oh, what if they get offended if I say this, or what if I react this way, then I'm gonna lose this. You know, and it's it's always there.
Yeah.
So
I think the fear for everything, as far as like even success, is there for everybody. Even for me, when I first started, like I said, my company blew up out of nowhere. Like I didn't see it coming, and I started making money, and I'm like, well, what? Why me? You know, just the success that it came with was just imposter syndrome came in through right away. Like, why me? You know, I didn't see this coming. I focused so much on music for so many years, and all of a sudden I jumped into photography and videography, and it happened out of nowhere, randomly. And I'm like, why? And that's, like I said, going back to our original question, the why. Why is this happening for myself? Why am I continuing to do this the way that I'm doing it? And the fear for me, like I said, like for you, it's just innate. It's in us for some reason. I don't know what it is. If it's just the idea that we're not good enough for whatever reason, or like you said, we just overanalyze certain things in us, even when it is success, you know, because I do see this as success as far as like right now, what we have, it came down from just me randomly doing a video for an office. And then from there, just kind of grew just randomly, you know. How many years did I do music? How many concerts did I play? How many students did I teach?
Oh man.
How much time did I spend on my guitar learning theory?
Going to school for it.
Yeah, that must be tough, man. Like the thing that you really, really wanted to blow up didn't blow up. It was the thing that, okay, I guess this will do.
You kind of didn't take serious.
Yeah, well, it wasn't even that. Well, because I love photography and videography. I enjoy doing it, but I just didn't see it.
Right.
It just came out of randomly. Like I was playing music randomly. I went to Best Buy, bought a camera, did a video for the singer, her wedding, and then once the band broke up, I had like 2 to 3 days questioning my life, because that was all my life. It was music. I stopped playing music. I literally just stopped teaching. I was teaching at schools. I called them. Hey, I don't want to teach anymore.
Oh shit.
And I didn't want to go to school for get my credentials, because that's what I was doing. I was getting my credentials.
You just dropped out. Yeah.
Stopped. And then once again, the band wasn't there anymore. That's all I did, was either writing music, practicing, going to gigs. That was my whole life. And luckily I developed a skill while being in a band, not knowing that it was going to become my career.
Right.
But I got lucky. You know, that's where my fear came in. I'm like, why?
Right.
Why did it happen for me in this way? And I started questioning my success in that format as well. But that's why I started bringing in guests in, and like, why do you do certain things? And they started telling me their backstory. It's always like a backstory of like trauma, or backstory of not having something, or backstory of wanting to give. That's why I'm able to answer certain things, because I started asking the questions to hear it from another person in order for me to understand it for myself. But of course, their whys were always different. And I think everybody's why is different.
Yeah, I think be an interesting question for Omar, for like your company becoming so massively successful that you're not going to have no time to play music. How will that make you feel? You have all the money, you got success, but you haven't touched the guitar for 5 years.
You know what? I thought about that.
Like me, Omar.
No. Listen.
How is that, man?
I've already thought about that. So like the reason why I picked the cleaning company was because it eventually can be something I can be hands off of. For like genuinely, like at least my brother-in-law, who had pitched it to me, who's also a musician, and he's got his own business called AV Scoops. I'm doing a shameless plug for him.
Plug it in.
No, AV
That's
Scoops.
awesome.
What
so
is
like,
AV Scoops?
Dude, I want to talk about
I think I heard of that. I've heard of that.
Okay.
I've heard
Ice
that.
cream?
Plug it in. Yeah, definitely ice cream. Chocolate ice cream.
It's chocolate ice cream,
Chocolate
baby.
ice cream.
Yum, yum,
No,
yum, yum.
dude. No, he was kind of in the same position. He hasn't married my sister yet. They're gonna get married in August. But I call him my bro-in-law because he's been my bro-in-law since they got together. But this guy,
Push it harder. I don't think that was the right one. But all right. I wanted the clapping one.
Oh.
There you go.
Congratulations, sister.
Congratulations.
Yeah, my sister's getting married.
Yeah,
you know.
congratulations.
Yeah,
Taxes.
I love her. I love her. Taxes, absolutely. And she loves the dude. And he's a wonderful man.
Get that prenup.
No,
Prenup.
prenup. Get that prenup. Man, that's funny.
That's messed up.
No, hey, sometimes you got to do it. Okay,
We live in
I guess.
California. We live in California.
That's a conversation.
We
man.
live in
Prenup,
California.
bro.
No, that's the conversation I have on the second date.
Damn.
Keep going. Sorry, we'll
no,
go
that's
back to
fair.
my.
Yeah, go for
No,
it.
we'll come back to it though.
Yeah,
We'll come back to that.
that.
Talk about the prenups. Yeah,
Go for it. Go for it.
But scoops, AV scoops.
Yum, yum.
He was in a similar situation, man. He was working for like a rental office where they, like apartment buildings and whatnot, where he was at the front end, like giving people leases and manager and whatnot. And yeah, he started to get sick of his situation and the people around him. And him being a musician, again, his old dream was to be a musician. But then started to listen to like business podcasts, and then out of nowhere, I think he found one where they were doing like poop scooping in Texas. Which, funny enough, it was an episode of King of the Hill.
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say that.
Yeah,
With Bobby.
I was like, yeah,
With Bobby.
dude,
Yeah,
yes. It was an episode of the King of the Hill, and I was like, dude, did you get that from that? He was like, no, man, it was a podcast, which I thought was hilarious. But he decided to bring that to California because he noticed nobody was doing it.
Yeah, especially in Palmdale.
Nobody was doing it in this valley. And he started to do it and then quickly realized, oh, yeah, I'm getting a lot of business. He ended up quitting his job. He's pretty successful in that business.
That's awesome.
And he was the one who was inspiring me like, hey, dude, like, if I can do it, you can do it. And if, and I didn't think I can do it and he didn't think he can do it. So it was like, oh, then it's just a matter of making a choice and then living with it and then just being consistent with it. And he was, he had pitched many ideas. We'd been going back and forth. I was initially going to do like a teaching business, and I was like, nah, screw that.
Yeah,
I don't want to teach
spoken
anymore.
about that too.
Yeah, dude, he's a great website designer. That's one of his many skills that he's got, and he made so many websites for me. But ultimately, he finally like came to me. He's like, I've been sitting on this idea for a while, man. You can have this. But I was thinking about doing a cleaning business. And the more I was doing the research on it, the more I was like, oh yeah, people are making like 6 figures doing this and they're not even working. They're almost like contractors. Like, of course you have to supervise certain things that don't go wrong, but it's by comparison, minimum hours, it opposed to what I was doing before, which was giving all of my time for less money.
Exactly.
So, I mean, like, even if I work a total of 20 to 30 hours a week, like on just managing people, managing is easy for me. Like that is the easiest thing I know how to do. I can tell people what to do. I can have those hard conversations with people. I can tell you to give me my money if you haven't paid me. Like these are things that are easy, that come easy to me because I had to learn how to set boundaries and all that. So because of that, I was like, oh, okay. Well, I'd rather be doing this than making money for somebody else, which again, I'm getting minimum returns for, and they're getting a fantastic product. Like I go to the Guitar Center and I look and I hear things like, man, the retention rate is just doo-doo dog shit now. And I'm like, oh, really?
You don't say.
You don't say, huh? Because for years I was telling them, hey, not years, I'm sorry, months. I was telling the new people, hey, is there a way for you to check the retention rate of individual instructors? They're like, nah, we just see it as a whole. And I was like, how's our retention rate? And they're like, oh, it's great. It's like, I can't even remember what the number was, but it was so big for them that it was like, oh yeah, we have a good system established. We have good employees. But it turns out the minute I left, that retention rate dropped. And it was because that retention rate was my retention rate. It wasn't the retention rate of everybody else around. It was literally because I had so many students. I had like, I want to say anywhere from like 25 to 30 students plus at a given time. And I held on to people because again, of my charisma, my ability to teach, and I'm a fun dude. People like talking to me. I had a lot of people who used me as like a therapist when they would come into my lessons room, and I'm like, bro, just play that C chord. Come on, stop telling me about your life. Just play that C chord.
Sing it away.
And that's when I quickly realized, oh, these are my skills. This is what I have to offer, and this skill. oh God, it's not an easy thing to teach to people, let alone learn yourself. And that's when I was like, oh yeah, okay, I know what I'm doing, at least in this section of my life.
Yeah.
And that's where when you had asked me about that, oh yeah, what would happen if you became a super sexy business owner? No, a very successful business owner. What would happen? Well, I would have somebody else manage it for me. I would get to a point where, you know what? I would take a pay cut. I would take a significant pay cut if it meant I had my time. And that's all I want. Because again, the only thing that you can't get back is time. Relationships, love, money, your dog that just died. You can get that back.
Yeah.
You know, maybe not the same dog. And maybe, you know, certain relationships when they die, you can't get that back. But the idea of these things leaving you, they come back, you know. Maybe your relationships look a little different, but they're the same ones you've had your entire life. But time you will never get back. And the older I get, the more I realize, oh yeah, that's right. I'm not worried about time like that, because honestly, this is a journey, man. Like if I'm supposed to die tomorrow, I've accepted that a long time ago. So I'm not worried about wasting time. But I am worried about not having the ability to control my time.
Exactly.
The time that I have available to me. Whatever that is. I don't know if it's to tomorrow or 2 weeks from now, but I want to be able to say, if I want to wake up today, I'm going to wake up at whatever time I want, because I can. If I want to stay up, I'll stay up as long as I want. If I want to go out on the weekend, I'll fucking cancel this client or not, or have somebody else take care of it, and I'll go handle that. Because again, time is money. And somebody else can handle that for you. Because again, money is replenishable. You can get that back. So that's the ultimate goal. I genuinely just, again, I'll even sell the company off, man. Like that's where in my brain, I'm like, I'm not attached to this idea. I just need to make sure that my people are okay. So I can just selfishly focus on myself. Selfishly.
No, that's a good way to go about life, though. Like as far as like understanding where you're putting your time into and your focus and who you're going to give it to. And I think it's the better way to go about it is just give it to yourself, you know, rather than giving it to Guitar Center, because you know they could find another person to replace you at any time, because they're
apparently not a good one, not a good enough one.
Yeah, finding good people is a hard thing. You know, finding people that have the same type of skills that you have. Unfortunately, they didn't see it at the time because you were already there. And they thought, hey, there's plenty of him and there's not enough of us, and he needs us because we're giving him the students and we're giving him the resources and we're giving him the place to teach and all that stuff. Before we go into the next conversation, hey, Enrique, do you need to go to the bathroom?
No, I'm good.
All right, because I see your leg shaking.
It's just one of those habits.
All right, I just want to make sure, because I know last time you were like, it's getting dangerous.
It's getting dangerous.
That's why I got myself a small bottle of water.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Yeah,
just for whatever reason, if you guys do need to go to the bathroom, just go. Don't
raise your hand.
Yeah,
don't be
raise your
polite.
hand.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just make sure you put it on the wide angle though.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was like watching all. I was like, bro, this guy, it's either he's having a seizure or he's going to the bathroom.
No, man. I just had a shake syndrome.
A shaky leg syndrome.
Just to make me feel still, you know.
Oh yeah, man. You know, and I'll be honest with you. I think, yes, I did have that habit early on. And you know what, that comes from different things. Your body is excited. You probably have some excitement floating around, and because of that, you're just like, oh, okay, I gotta exert that energy somehow.
You gotta put some people tap their hands on their knee, you know. Others just shake.
Twerk it out. But you know what? I did notice I became stiller when I started to meditate. And again, I felt like I was going to talk about this at some point.
Yeah, show us how you take a deep breath, because there's skills to that, right? Not just going. Show the people how you take a breath.
Show me.
Now notice you don't actually take a breath from your
sinuses?
From your shoulders. You hear my sinuses. That's right. You breathe from the diaphragm. You just.
Hear mocos
like that. You can hear my mocos Just like that. No. But I already knew how to sing because I was a saxophone. Sorry. Breathe.
Saxophone.
Because I was a singer and a saxophone player. So like when I started to meditate, I already knew how to breathe.
Okay.
It was easy. But the meditation is what helped me become still. Like, I don't know if you noticed, I don't really move too much. And I used to have ADHD. I say used to. I still have it. But honestly, like now I'm, again, even though it's kind of crazy up here and like I feel anxiety or excitement or jittery. Like you saw me drink all that coffee, bro. I haven't had coffee in about a week because of my wisdom teeth. And I'm still, as you can see, I may be a little excited. You can hear it in my voice and my passion, but I'm still
very grounded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're using it off of the dialogue that I guess the amount of energy that you're wanting to take out, you're using it, exactly. Verbally.
By verbally speaking.
Exactly. I think that's a very, very important that you're using it in a way where once again, it functions for you purposely.
Yes.
Rather than you just moving around or being distracted all the time.
Exactly. And I learned how to channel that because again, when you sit down and meditate, the first thing you start to notice is that, oh wow, I'm like a squirrel. My mind's going here, my mind's going then. I'm thinking about the laundry I gotta do. I gotta think about doing this. And then I never noticed how restless I was. Like I was constantly jumping from one thing to another thing to another thing, and I never would get things done because of that. So and this happened during the COVID time, when I had no other choice but to sit still and do nothing. I was like, oh. Well, I guess I got to do something. So I started to meditate. I started studying Hinduism too. And I was like, oh, I was really into it. And I still am. But this is what made me realize, oh, I don't have that practice. I don't have the practice of keeping my mind single pointed at one specific thing. And that's, again, something you don't learn and something people don't teach you. You had it from the very start, but it was situational. You had no choice but to do it.
Exactly.
And because of that, you learned how to do the skill on your own. But again, me, I was pretty comfy most of my life. So because of that, I never learned how to keep my attention single pointed. And as I started to meditate, I started to practice the single pointed, idea, which is, okay, how about you just sit here and focus on a singular thought? And again, people in all religions, whether it's Catholicism, Christianity, Islam, that's what you're doing when you're praying. You're focusing all of your attention in the singular moment, which is, dear God, please give me this, give me that. But when you focus on that, you're not thinking about all the shit that you got that's been floating around. And the more you do that, it becomes a regular thing for you. Now you can say, during this time of day, I will keep my attention focused on this one thing. And that's what you do in meditation. You could do it on a mantra. You could do it on a thought. You can do it on love. You can even meditate on Enrique over here. I could be like, Om Enrique, Enrique, Enrique. And it doesn't have to be anything. It doesn't even have to be God. It could be anything. It could
I heard a bird. Her birds chirping.
Birds chirping.
Freeway sounds.
Freeway sound. The sound of your daughter crying. You can even focus on that.
That sucks.
Yeah, I know that one sucks. I know.
I'm like,
okay, you're just like, okay, just focus on her cries.
Somebody give her candy.
Yeah. But that's the problem. You can't sit down and focus on a singular thing because we live in a society that, again, your attention is people are fighting for your attention. And what they're doing it through the phone. They're doing it in the TV. They're doing it on the billboards everywhere. When you walk into a Best Buy, what are they doing? They're trying to sell you something. They get your attention.
Bright TVs, especially at Costco. When you get in there, it's the first thing you see is a big bright TV, and you're like, wow, and you just forget why you're there.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Irvin, you have a book that you're reading, right, about the psychology of the mind of a human, right?
What's it called?
You want to turn on that camera again?
My bad.
It's his first day.
Okay, go for it. You're reading the book right now, right?
Right.
What's it called? It's about psychology, right?
Consumer instinct.
Consumer instinct. We didn't talk too much about that with the Shades of Brown boys, right? But you're reading that book, and that book just pretty much tells you a roadmap and how, in some ways, manipulate a person's It's like mine. I'm
Yeah.
buying shit or
Yeah.
getting their attention.
Yeah, either through color or
Yeah.
going
Mhm.
off of like animal instincts, like we were talking before, as far as like how men think about and
Yeah.
how men view women, you know, and then of course,
Sex sells and all that. yeah.
exactly,
Sex
sex sells, and
sells.
then of course how they use it
Right.
in order for us to one of you, oh, it was you. I was like, hey, you smell good. The cologne.
Oh,
What
that's
did-
right.
What did you say?
That's right. That's
what
right.
did you say though afterwards?
I was like, oh, that's right. I was like, bitches love guys. who smell-
exactly. But that
No, I don't mean women are bitches. It's just a.
No, he meant it.
Hey, it's just a general term I
Illuminati, get 'em.
use for people.
Get him, Illuminati. Get him.
Don't get me, please. Don't come for me, PC police, please.
Yeah,
I swear.
but even that statement that you said, where did it come from? You had
Yeah, it
you
was
heard it
sold to
somewhere.
me. Yeah,
exactly. You heard it somewhere.
absolutely.
Hip hop.
I was like,
my
bitches
question,
love
Omar,
guys
though,
who smell good.
my question to Omar though is that knowing your mind state personally, do you think that's wrong to psychologically manipulate people's mind onto buying things? And you know, Irvin, you told me that, hey, how are you supposed to stay successful? You know, use the tools, right? That's what you told me. But there's a little weird part about that where it's, you know, you are manipulating the human being. You are tricking them. Everything they do in life, it's not really themselves choosing that. It's just more been installed in their brains subconsciously.
Yeah.
Is that
of cour-
okay?
Well, it is
it
because
okay?
as humans we understand that everything that we have, like even our phones, like when before the iPhone, we didn't know we needed an iPhone. We had to been told that it allowed us to go on to Google a lot quicker and
Music,
take pictures
videos,
and
pictures,
music and
yeah,
all
everything.
this stuff. So it was the convenience of it's giving you this. So that's why you need it. But we didn't know that we needed it because we didn't have it a year prior until they told us
Right.
why we needed it. And that comes with everything. Like what you're selling right now, why do they need their house clean? And I was actually going to bring this up. You could actually go into like realtors that do foreclosures.
Yes.
Foreclosures, usually they don't have a week or 2 weeks or whatever. They need to leave the house. They usually leave them all jacked up. That's where you come in, and that's where the need, and that's what you need to sell to the realtor and say, hey, I will do this right away because I know you're busy. You're telling them what they need, but they didn't know they needed it. But now you're using the tools to benefit not only yourself, but
Man.
also your party.
Now, this is a tricky subject because it's those words, man. It's those trigger words. You said manipulation.
Manipulation.
what Enrique said, though.
Manipulation. Yeah, that's what this guy
Psychological.
said.
Yeah, that guy over there.
Psychological manipulation.
The guy in the corner said that.
Right over here.
Right, hey, what's up, guys?
I kind of want to extend on that because like it's, you know, it actually still ties to the whole meditation thing.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. If you don't brainwash yourself, somebody else will do it.
100%.
There you go.
And constantly, we're already at a point where we're constantly being brainwashed by somebody who says you need an iPhone.
Yep.
Did you need the iPhone? No. Did you think you need the iPhone? Well, now you can't live without it. So now you can't, right? Now you're like, oh, I needed you to do this for me. Same thing with like the idea of like why would somebody need a cleaning business? Well, that's the idea. It's not a very ethical, I guess, because I believe that everybody has free will. I believe you have the right to choose whether you're going to listen to me or not. So if I say you need this, you're making this choice right now to listen to me, and now I'm going to try to convince you of my point because that's what a salesperson does.
Yep.
I need to eat. So like, for my point, yes, ethically, like I need this for me, but like I had a friend. I guess let me get to tell this story.
Okay.
I had this friend of mine, and God bless her soul. I will never forget her. But she one time had said something like that to me. She had said, "Oh, how do you feel about like people lying to you or manipulating you?" And I'm just like, "How do I feel about it?" Well, I don't really like it. He's like, "Well, what if it was for a good reason? What if you got something good out of it?" And I thought, well, if I got something good out of it, then it was good, right? That's just because you just said it in the name. It's easy. It's good. So why would I argue that this is bad? But those two statements are very contradicting. You think of the trigger word manipulation, you're like, no, don't manipulate me. Don't get into my fucking head. So like from a societal standpoint and ethics, manipulation is bad. But my friend in the moment was trying to say to me, well, what if it was for a good reason? And, you know, and I was just like, okay, I guess I can get down with this because again, if it would provide some good for somebody, then why not? But good is subjective. What you might think is good might not be what I think is good.
Yeah.
And that's where free will comes into play, where I was like, well, you have the right to choose whether that's good or bad.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe to you, you've been used and abused all your life. So the idea of manipulation, you're just like, no, don't do that to me. Don't get it, stay away. But maybe to somebody who understands, like, oh, the marketing standpoint of like, oh, well, I didn't even know I needed this until you tricked me into like looking at this billboard, and now I'm looking at it, and now I want this thing.
Yeah,
you know,
marriage counseling. You know?
Yeah, marriage counseling, because my marriage is falling apart. How did I know? Like,
how did they know?
How do they know? You know, you never know. You don't know. So that's tricky.
It's a tricky
very
business,
tricky.
man. It's a very tricky business. I mean, you heard about that story about the cigarettes. What's this? You know the history about it, right?
Yes, dude.
Women.
But go ahead, go. Yeah.
No, you go for it.
No, you go. You got it. No,
said
we
women.
need some
I
more
wanna hear
attention.
this.
Well, the
about
reason
women?
I'm hesitating about this story is I'm
Tell me.
really bad at remembering the names.
Okay, go to your camera angle though.
But so there is an advertisement psychologist.
Hold on, I'm gonna go to the restroom.
I believe it was.
my God. Go for it.
I'm the one.
It was. I
He's a loser.
So they psychologically at the time manipulated the public, especially women, because women didn't smoke cigarettes at the time. So they figured they were doing protesting for women, and eventually, like, hey, why they're doing protesting? Why don't we get some women, give them cigarettes? This is a big thing. If they see women smoking cigarettes, it's going to give the illusion or the perspective that women are strong, just like men. Independence, you know? Not only men smoke cigarettes, but women do too. Real manly. You can still be strong and you know, women smoking cigarettes.
Boss babe.
Yeah, it's yeah, and from there on, it just eventually started, you know, becoming an advertisement thing.
And I think that's something that it's in the book as well. It kind of goes off the concepts that when it comes to sales, they sell to women a lot more than they sell to men.
Right.
Because they always go after, you know, like what you're saying, they go after the idea of like, if you do this, you're going to be looked at a certain way via society. You're not only within other women, but as your male counterparts, because your male counterparts are also doing it. So they're giving the illusion of like, you're going to be like your opposite sex. You want to be equal, because that's the idea of that back then of, you know, feminism. They wanted equality because they felt that they were being depressed in some sort of way because, you know, rules and regulations, they couldn't vote, whatever. But also when it comes to like the makeup industry, you know, they're telling women, hey, you will look better if you put mascara on. You will look better if you put makeup on. You will look better if you put whatever else they put on. Yeah. And I don't even know the terms.
But why is it that women are being, like you said, why women are...
Because they're more emotional.
That's why.
Yeah. That's the idea of like the same thing with hairstyles, you know, like the same thing with the type of clothing.
Clothes,
if you go to a clothing store, it's mostly women's clothes.
Well, you say it sounds weird, but when you say women been groomed at an early point in society in America to be the way they are, you know, men, I guess we're sort of more freer. Like men just work and provide. But for women, it was a lot more easier for them to be, manipulated, but like easy to advertise. To
I would say.
And mold their way of thinking. You know, it's pretty messed up.
Yeah, because once again, they derive their decision making off of the emotion.
Emotions,
you know, if you could tell a woman you don't look, or you're not going to be looked at a certain way via the opposite sex, just like men, you know, like sports cars and all that stuff. But it's easier to sell a smaller product like makeup or dresses or heels or whatever, wigs, whatever they wear, because that they want to attract. And of course, they're also competing with other women. So it's easier for, you know, whatever companies come in and say, if you look this way, if you smell this way, if you wear this, or if you're whatever, now the whole thing is BBLs now. That's
BBLs.
You know, like, or eyelashes.
Or just the color pink, bro. Pink was forced on them. you're a girl, here's
yeah.
pink. You know, like I was telling Irvin that women been groomed in America at an early time, and now to this day still. And it's, you know, John Lennon had a song, "Women are the niggers of the world." You know?
Whoa, really?
You ever heard that song?
No, I never heard that song.
That's a John Lennon song.
Bro, my
And-
Illuminati don't cancel.
no, seriously. He wrote that song.
Oh
Women
my
are the blacks of the world. And why did John Lennon say that? I now I'm starting to understand that women have been so oppressed for a long time.
Yeah.
From the beginning of time, from, you know, our caveman days until now in this society. And I feel like honestly, I think women are a bit. I don't know. If I was a woman, I'd be at a loss right now. I'm looking at dudes, and dudes want to be women. I'm like, what's going? The question is, what is a woman? That's been a documentary, and
Yeah. I think once again, it all goes back to the idea that because men are more logical oriented, as far as like we focus on certain things because we want to provide, we're not consuming.
control. I think
You know,
provide, but
well,
more
we're-
control.
Well, it's not even control because once again, it's all biology. We want to give. We're not trying to control a guy that's waking up early in the morning to become to pick up trash.
Right.
He's not thinking I'm going to control my woman because I'm picking up trash early in the morning.
Right.
No, he's bringing happiness to himself biologically because he wants to provide. Now, as in general, because we live in a capitalistic society, they want to make money. So they understand it's not the general man that's trying to suppress a woman. It's not us, you know, it's not me and you. We're the general, you know, we're not the type of people that I would say we're going to manipulate a lady to say, hey, you're going to look better if you wear this or that. If anything, I would say wear less of makeup because I like more of the natural beauty. But of course, they, like you said, they've been groomed to think
A long generation. Their mothers. You know
they've been taught to think if you wear
They
this
don't know
or
any
if
better.
you
They don't even know.
over embellish this, you're gonna feel a certain way about yourself because for whatever reason you shouldn't feel this way if you look natural or if you wear your natural hair or you weren't so
Yeah.
much makeup. But once again, it's emotion. It's just the capitalistic society that
Yeah.
we live in because we want to, or society is based off of making income. It's not, like I said, it's not the general man that's saying, grooming the woman,
Right.
saying, wear this. Because in general, all the girls that I've gone out on dates with, or all the girls that have like been my girlfriend,
Right.
I would always do the opposite and like, no, I think you're beautiful if you don't wear that much makeup. Why do you have to buy all these products when technically you already caught me? The idea was in their heads, if I wear this, I'm going to attract the opposite sex or the guy.
I look beautiful. I look way more, and you know they do.
Exactly.
They do look
Yeah.
beautiful. You know, women in the workforce, especially high-ranked women in the high positions, you're starting to see that they are getting a lot more sick than men in the same position.
Sick?
Yeah,
Or like
with a
physically
lot of
sick?
physically sick,
Okay.
illness,
Okay.
psychological, like almost like it's not. I wouldn't want to say it's not for them, but it's somehow a lot harder for them.
Once again, it's all biology. So it's their why. Like what brings them happiness in general. Like not
But the stress, the
yeah,
work.
exactly. But that stress is the why though. Like I'm not waking up at 5 and going home at 10 or 12, working 12, 16-hour days without understanding my why. Now, once again, it's being sold again, even on the workforce. If you make this certain amount of money, you're going to be equal to a man. But then what is your why to doing it? Like, is that bringing you happiness? Or are you competing with something that no one's competing you with anything? Because we are the general public as men. I would never tell a woman, hey, I'm better than you because I work longer hours or I make more money than you. No, I want to give it to you. I want to provide it to you. But once again, it is sold on the emotion, on competition now, just like on the products that was sold to them as far as like the makeup industry or the heels industry or the wigs industry or the eyelashes industry, whatever.
Yeah.
But once again, it's all an emotion. It's an illusion because it's bringing in income to those companies. And it's all based off of because they understand the psychological instinct as a woman. Emotion is based off of the decision making that they go off of when it comes to just living in general.
And that's why it gets me a little bit upset because it's sad. It's like a woman's identity. It's foggy from the beginning. And I feel like women have such a great gift in their ways of living and the way they are. Their biology is so magical. I feel like, oh yeah, she got a baby in her stomach, but there's something
No, I get
Yeah.
that. I get
extraordinary and amazing that
Yeah.
nobody quite, even themselves, can't understand
Yeah.
what that is. And I feel like women still need to find what woman is and what. If I don't sound like an asshole,
No,
here, but
No.
This makes sense.
I understand what you're
yeah,
saying because
yeah.
even men right now are confused.
Yeah.
You know, as far as like we basically went into the idea like they're all in the box, they're lazy, they're
Yeah, yeah.
entitled. They want to be given rather than going and like actually
Go get it,
getting
yeah.
what they need to be doing. The same thing with women.
Yeah.
Right now, they're being sold on other ideas right now. And this is not to shame those that are independent and want to strive to better themselves economically or socially or anything like that. But understanding your why too, like you said, what is a woman, you know, biologically, your happiness is derived to be nurturing. You know, when you get to a certain status of like work, you have to bring in your masculinity. You don't want to do that, you know, because it's not innate in you to do that.
Shit, I barely like it. And I'm a man. I'm like, what the fuck?
Right? You have to be disagreeable all the
Yeah.
time. You have to be
disagreeable.
there's always walls because certain people are going to manipulate you because there is now finances in between you
Yeah.
and you're playing a game. And it's like, for me to see a girl go through that stress, and it's not innate in them to do that
Yeah.
because they want to be nurturing.
And they shouldn't be. You know, when you love,
Yeah.
you don't want anybody to
Yeah,
go
but
through
once
that.
again, certain people are put in certain positions because, you know, same like mine. My background isn't the greatest, so I had to build my company. I've met girls the same way where they didn't come with certain privileges too. Where same story, you know, immigrant family. They wanted more for their family. Now they created a platform, or they created a business for themselves. So having created that, they've had to create certain characteristics that isn't biologically innate in them, but they
Right.
had to create that to get that business.
just like that pig story, they grew those fangs or whatever, you know.
I like that.
Exactly. And like my thing is the type of girls that I've always liked to go after. I wouldn't say anymore, just because I've also learned my lesson too. Were those type of girls, the business women, you know, like they were the seven figures, like literally they're always higher. And I think you've met one before, long time ago.
That's a bad bitch.
At Guitar Center.
Yeah?
There was a girl that I came in with and I introduced her. It was a while ago.
It's okay.
It was a while ago.
It's
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
hazy, but she was making seven figures?
Yeah, she's making. I don't want to name
No,
what she
no,
does
totally,
because
totally,
I'm
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
sure
Hey.
someone's gonna listen.
Big money.
She's not from this area. She's in the LA area. She makes seven figures, and after her, I was trying to talk to another girl, seven figures, whatever. I like the idea that they're independent and they could provide for themselves and they have charisma, the characteristics that a lot of these pretty girls don't have because they're pretty, because they've always been given and gotten attention from the opposite sex. So they're boring to me. They don't know how to make conversation. For me, their jokes are dull. They don't know how to take a joke. But when it came down to these business women, because
like
they were a little harder, it was easier for me to communicate because I was coming in from the same platforms, you know, as far as like growing from nothing to something.
Yeah.
But what I've noticed is that they didn't know how to separate it from the idea of not being masculine in the conversation because it's business. Once you get a certain habit, it's hard for you to divide it, even if it's not a business conversation. So if I was having dinner with my ex-girlfriend, it became a competition because we were business. Now I'm talking to her directly. She's talking to me directly, but I was missing something from her, which was her nurturing side. And that's what I had to learn for myself too. Like, yeah, I will always say kudos to them. You know, I'm so happy that you did it for yourself, but I didn't find that attractive at the end of the day. Like in me, I just wanted someone to be more nurturing, more feminine, you know, rather than being argumentative all the time and saying, no, because of this, this, and this. Now it's a competition between both parties. And it felt like I was dating myself. And I didn't like that.
Okay. So let me ask you this. So in an ideal world, you would want a woman to have both qualities then, because it sounds like you get bored with the pretty girls who are just like, haha, I'll just do whatever you want me to do. But But you want that. You still want an aspect of that. But you want somebody who's independent, who thinks for themselves, who's able to, be funny and charismatic and have these masculine features without it being overbearing.
I would say that yes, you had it right, and then no, you had it wrong at the end. As far as I don't want any masculine traits,
at all.
So I do want them to have a brain. I'm not saying I want a dumb girl that's just gonna laugh at all my jokes, and I'm not that funny to begin with. So if she's laughing at every joke that I'm saying, I already know that you're just dull and boring and just laughing to laugh. No, I need someone to be genuine. I need someone to be themselves, but it has to be themselves. And it's very hard because like what Enrique is saying, we're being sold ideas and we're trying to compete with one another on ideas that don't really exist.
Right.
And like I said, those girls, they didn't, like myself, they didn't have a choice. They came from a certain type of family or certain type of background where they had to build themselves a certain way to be assertive, to be argumentative, to get that business, just like myself.
Yeah. Have a barrier, have a,
Yeah, but they just didn't know how, they didn't know how to separate themselves from that masculinity of being argumentative.
It's almost like a soldier going to war and coming back and he's all fucked up PTSD. Women are going, it's the working field, especially when you're going to a business side of things. It's a war zone.
Yeah,
you're going against top dogs, especially men can be real jerks. If you're a woman, men will look at you. Oh, you try to play with the big boys, huh, girl?
Yeah.
So I can see how women could come out like warriors, and the only thing they know how to do is be ready to fight.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just it's a good trait for men to have.
You're right.
We need to be assertive as men because we don't want to be taken advantage, or we don't want our families to be taken advantage either, because we want to protect. That's our biological instinct as far as as men, we want to provide, but we want to, initially we just want to protect. But like he's saying, it's like for them, it's harder because it's not instinctual.
No, totally.
It's just more, it's built because it's forced.
But I can also, like I said, because I play devil's advocate, there's actually a bit I want to add to that, only because it's a double-edged sword. Because what you said, it was like, oh, they're not built that way, and I totally get that, because again, what you're speaking of is masculine and feminine energies. Like this is something that exists within all of us, but it's a double-edged sword. When you have too much of one, then you lack the other side. So now you're cold. Now you're logical. Now when this person is coming to you that you genuinely love, who needs some actual attention and love, you can't give it to them because you're very...
No. So for men, in order for us to attract the opposite sex, you need to understand the opposite sex. So it doesn't mean you have to be feminine. You just need to understand it in order for you to navigate life, in order for you to attract that. So for us, we're logical, we're straight. So if I say, hey, Omar, I'm going to meet you here, I'm just going to tell you the time, place, and that's it. But for a girl, I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to meet you here. We're going to do this, this, and this. So I'm already word saling everything because that's what they want to hear. They want to hear a whole plateau of a conversation. That's not me being feminine. That's just me understanding what they are.
But you're embodying...
No, I'm not embodying anything because I'm still a guy. I'm just understanding. I'm still a man, and a man needs to understand in order for him to succeed. They basically just need their femininity. They need to be nurturing in order for them to actually navigate life. And I'm not going to force anybody to be masculine. I'm not asking her, hey, you need to understand me. No, they're already at the finish line. They're just waiting for the best man to understand them. They're wanting those qualities. They want the charisma, they want the conversation, they want the looks, they want the success. But now it's a little bit different because, like Enrique said, they're now being sold on certain ideas. I don't want a manipulation as far as within the market. Oh, you need to dress a certain way, you need to look a certain way, you need to make a certain amount of money to feel a certain way. And music does the same thing.
It's very cloudy, man. Especially if you're coming from a culture's perspective. If you're Latina, you come from a culture where the women have to be submissive. You have to cook, clean, and don't speak, against me. And having that culture, and then trying to succeed in America in a capitalistic way, it gets foggy, man.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It gets foggy, and you going after women like that.
Yeah.
obviously it's gonna come some some problems.
Yeah, no, and for me, like I said, that's what I like.
Challenges?
I want to. I would love a girl that's smarter than me. To be honest with you, I love having conversations with a girl that actually knows how to have a conversation. But the pretty girls don't know how to have conversations. They're just pretty. Then of course the ones that are having the conversation, I love having conversations, but they don't know how to meet me in the middle, where we're no longer arguing
Right.
at the end of the day, because it becomes an argument because once again, they derive their decision makings off of emotions.
Yeah.
I don't. I could make an argument and not feel emotional about it. But if I go too far, it could trigger something where it now becomes an argument.
Right.
I don't want that. But I want someone that's smart. I want someone that's wanting to achieve something for themselves, but also I want them to understand, hey, I'm still a woman. You know,
gotcha.
I want to be nurturing. I want to be giving. I don't want to be just a boss babe 24/7. You know, if she wants to come into my company, we're going to do it
Boss
together,
babe.
you know?
Boss babe.
I just think it all comes down to, if you really love that person, I guess you give the patience and love to show them that, not just dismiss them like, okay,
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's a Chris Rock special on Netflix a while back, like a couple of years ago, called Tambourine, I believe. And sometimes you want to be the front man. And sometimes you just got to step back at times and play the tambourine.
That's right.
You know, just step back. But some people don't want to play the tambourine. They want to be the lead singer, the guitar player, shredding. But there's times you got to step back and play the goddamn tambourine.
Now,
Go for it.
because going back to that, because again, I'm still building my bigger point. This is going to be a home run. Just wait. Because again, what you described to me, so what you're saying is that the charisma, the ability to work on oneself, to grow and be smarter, is a masculine quality.
No,
No?
no. That is just a necessity that you need to do as a man. That's it. They could do that, but it's not the same way.
But as a man, you have to do that.
You
So would you
have
not
to.
say that would be masculine then?
No. No.
So then
Masculine is just being argumentative.
Oh, masculine is about being argumentative. So that requires, you to put yourself up front and say, hey, this is how I think. This is what I, and again,
No, well, it's not just don't have an opinion. No, I do want a girl that brings in opinions. My assistant is a female, and I always ask her for her opinion, not because she's a female, I'm going to dismiss it. No, she has qualities that she brings into the company because she's a female. She's going to see certain details that I don't see because she's a female. I recognize that I lack those certain things. So I'm going to go to a female. I'm going to say, hey, what's your opinion on this? And then from there, I'm going to now make my decision on her opinion because I know whatever whatever question I was asking for was probably going to come better from her on that aspect. Because once again, I understand what I am as a guy. I lack certain things. They have certain things that we lack and vice versa. We just need to meet each other in the middle and understand, hey, you have certain things to make me better. I have certain things to make you better. Okay. But unfortunately, we are competing on these things together and just basically now dividing each other.
Okay, that makes sense to me. But what I heard right now was that the perfect individual then is when you have exactly perfection. I'm adding because again I'm adding that because there's a point. There's a point because perfection is when you have qualities of nurture, empathy, care, submissiveness, being able to say, I'm the tambourine man, you're the front person right now, right? That's a very feminine, these are feminine qualities, the nurturing, the wanting to take care of people. And you heard me earlier about me wanting to nurture the homies, and they were just like, I'm gonna take advantage of you. Because that's a very man thing to do. But again, that's the opposite side. Now we have this other energy that's here to provide and to protect and to be able to sell themselves and their skills and be funny and charming and do all of this. But when these two energies come together, then perfection happens. And now the reason why I'm making it that point was because, again, the alchemists talk about this. If you've ever heard about the alchemists, they try to turn copper or any kind of regular
alchemy. Yeah,
you heard about alchemy, which was it was science before it was science, and essentially they tried to turn any regular metal into gold by adding or subtracting protons and neutrons and all of that. But their magnus opus, they always talked about this in their teaching. Their magnus opus was the hermaphrodite, which hermaphrodite, we know that it's a man or a woman. It's actually both.
Two in one.
It's 2 in 1. And they talked about that being perfection. They talked about when you're able to create the magnus opus, you create the hermaphrodite, and the hermaphrodite essentially embodies both the masculine and the feminine. So the reason why, again, human beings, we look for women in a certain way is because, again, you have certain qualities that it's like, okay, I am not perfect. And without these qualities, I'm not perfect. I need somebody to compliment me.
Yeah.
But it's because you don't have them within yourself. But then to say then, wouldn't the goal be then is to attain that point, to become the hermaphrodite, no, genuinely, to all my trans people out there,
oh,
you got a homie in me,
Come
okay?
on. Illuminati, don't cancel me.
You cancel me, all right? Come for my throat. Look,
Y'all want to be women?
Because you can be whatever you want to be, baby. All I'm saying,
Okay, go ahead.
is that keep going.
Keep talking about
that is the magnus opus. The magnus opus is when you can have both. And ideally, that's what you want, because that's why you're looking for a woman with these qualities, because you don't have that.
Yeah, so why become that then?
Because again, then you won't need anybody.
I don't want to die alone. we weren't meant to die alone. That's the other thing that's the other thing that is being sold on us right now. As far as like, oh, we're all independent, we're hyper individuals, and we have to look for ourselves.
Right.
No, it's a very narcissistic way and selfish way of looking at things. And I hear it now from more people, because more people aren't getting married anymore. More people aren't having kids anymore. For that reason that you just said,
look,
I could become what I am not, and I don't want to become what I am not, because I understand what I am and what I am not. Ooh. And we just have to understand that as just humans. Opposite sex have to understand, hey, I am this, I am that. Come together, we are going to build, and we are now united.
That sounds it's very, the way you guys talked about it, right. But it's a lot of complications. Like
no, totally.
I think the most specific, down to the nitty-gritty point is your mother. Like the relationship you had with your mother. At the end of the day, I believe you will find a woman that reminds you of your mother. At some point, there's a percentage that you marry your own mother, dude.
Oh yeah, Freud talked about that.
And I believe it.
No. I also believe that, because again, you tend to. This is relationships in general. You tend to gravitate to people who remind you of people.
That's all you know what a woman is, right? Who's a woman? Your mother. Who's the women? Who the father figure? You'll marry a man that kind of relates to your father. At the end of the day, that's what it is. At the end of the day.
Because they're the ones actually teaching you what the opposite sex
That's all you know.
And
That's
unfortunately,
all you know.
there has been generations of marriages and generations of relationships that, unfortunately, they've been singled out,
Yeah.
And there's a lot of girls that didn't grow up with the dad. A lot of guys didn't grow up with dad, or a lot of guys didn't grow up with the mother.
Yeah, I was going to say my dad bailed.
And unfortunately, we don't understand what it is to be ourselves anymore. So we are, once again, we're trying to compete, or we're trying to become, or we're trying to, like he is saying,
we're just trying,
become a hybrid of something that we're not supposed to be, rather than just looking for what we should have been taught in order for us to then become complete.
Yeah, it's tough, man, especially people that don't grow up with their father. That's a big piece that's missing, and maybe in the long future years they'll find peace, but it will always somehow affect their life, and whether it's raising their children and giving themselves a pep talk, it's just it having a mother and a father, or two dads, at the end of the day, having parents really makes an impact in the way you choose your partner. I think it's very important for that.
But for me, it's very important for guys to understand that this is very important for us to talk to one another too. Because maybe I don't have a solution to a certain problem that is masculine. I would rather come to Omar, or rather come to you, or rather come to Ramses. I'd rather come to my male counterpart, because we live the male experience. I am not going to go to a female and say, hey, this, and this. No, she lives a different experience. She's going to give me a solution that will only work for her and her female counterparts.
Right, what she understands.
And that's unfortunately because we are being taught, like you're saying, become feminine or have these feminine traits in order for, no, don't do that. You can't do that. That's not you. You're going against your biology.
I would argue that. I actually would argue that only because my empathy would not exist.
But empathy doesn't mean you're a female.
No.
That just means you're a human.
I mean, like, no, because again, because when you put people in categories, when you say women are like this and men are like this, what you're saying is that, okay, we are in our own boxes, and I will agree in the law of polarities. Oh my God, I can't. Polarity.
Big words.
Yes, I couldn't say it. Dude, that's so weird.
He's masculine.
Oh, I'm not smart, unga bunga. That, like I said, it's when something is hot, it is hot. And when something is cold, it is cold. I will agree that these two things exist in their own separate ways. But when you look at it from a bigger picture, what are these two things? These are temperatures, and from one extreme to another, guess what ends up happening when you get too hot? You fucking lose feeling. And you end up burning yourself, but you burn your nerve ends. What happens when you get too cold? The exact same thing. At the end of the day, these two separate entities that are hot and cold will still give you burn, whether it's freeze or burn, that frostbite, or third degree burn, which is, again, it's in the name. It's a burn. So as a man, you're not supposed to be empathetic. You're supposed to bash your fucking woman with a goddamn club.
But who says that,
drag her into the cave. And you say,
telling you that? Who's teaching you this? No, I didn't. I said we protect and provide.
Bunga, bunga.
That is the opposite of protecting. I did not say hit or violence. That's like literally the opposite.
But see, men are that. They're destruction. They're the force. They are brute force. I'm going to go fucking break down that wall to go get what I need so that I can feed my woman that's sitting in the cave. So when you say things like that, that's not an empathetic person. They don't have time. I'm sure you've met a lot of Hispanics, older Hispanic men, machismos, who are just like, no, not even a shred of empathy, no love, no compassion. Yeah. Their only job is to provide. Same thing with a woman. When you look at the old country people, same exact thing. They don't have the ability to think for themselves. They don't learn. They don't grow on themselves. They literally have kids and they say, I'm fucking done. Now, both of these extremes will get you burned. I don't agree with that.
I think you're going off of like the extremes of everything. I've never said use violence in any type of way. That is completely, I would never condone that in any type of way. I do agree society has kind of allowed certain type of men, and I wouldn't say all Hispanic men are machismo. That is a specific archetype of man, and that is the extreme of that type of man, and I wouldn't condone that type of man. Having empathy doesn't mean you're a feminine. Having empathy just means you're a human being with empathy. I'm just saying there's characteristics that we have, both parties, that I know females are better. They're better at social cues because, they have lesser muscle mass. They can't protect themselves physically if a man, like what you're saying, the archetype, will to go and do certain things to them physically. They can't do that. So biology has given them social cues to understand how to read a room better so that they could protect themselves more. They know that they need to be with a group of females because once again, they feel safer. But that's all biological.
Multitaskers as well. That's one of the
they're better at
multitasking.
They're better at actually having a conversation. They have skills, but it all comes to biology. But once again, doesn't mean that men don't have social cues, and if they do, they're female, and if they're empathetic, they're female. No, it just means that there are certain things that they have that biologically they needed to get because they are female. And once again, because we are men, we have certain bone densities, you know, as far as like we could work harder, longer hours in the cold. We could literally, there's certain things that we have biologically because that is given to us so that we could then give and provide. I'm not saying you're going to hit a chick because that's what you're saying. I never said that.
Bro, I'm talking about caveman days, baby.
Yeah, but I'm not, when did I ever speak about cavemen?
No, because you sound like a caveman right now.
I never spoke about
You
cavemen.
can get, the wires can
I
get
was
crossed
like,
there.
I was like, bro.
No, it's because look,
Urban's a white beater.
here's the thing, because I heard you talk about the qualities that you desire in yourself.
Yeah.
And all I heard was that sounds like a beautiful woman.
Yeah. But what was it though? Because I feel like you were hearing, but you weren't listening.
No, so like what I was hearing you say, which you were saying that
Yeah.
you want to be able to again have these social, be able to understand social cues and be able to have more charisma
Yeah.
and be able to, you know, to obviously carry on
Yeah.
a conversation
Yeah.
like a woman would be able to do.
Yeah.
But again, these are feminine qualities.
Once again, those are given biological in them. It's ingrained in them. But once again, having now within our society, it's very comfortable. So even then they lack even having that now because they get so much attention. They get gratification via Instagram. So that pretty girl doesn't even have to develop those social cues anymore. They don't have to develop those characteristics anymore because it's been now manipulated, like Enrique said, or sold to them that they are what they are being told what they are now. They're going against what they're technically already been gifted with. But we have to provide ourselves with the idea, like, I have to be more charismatic. I have to be more talkative. I have to understand the opposite sex in order for me to attract the opposite sex. But doesn't mean you're becoming that female. Doesn't mean that. It just means that that's what they're attracted to. So because they're attracted to that, that's what you need to do in order for you to attract them. But that's all it is.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, at the end of the day, are you a top or bottom, bro? Are you a top or bottom?
Hey, I do whatever I fucking want to do because again, that's just what I do. But genuinely, I understand where you're coming from. It's just when I hear you talk, sometimes it sounds like extremes.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're saying all women do this, all men do this, and like how you just defended all men by saying, well, not all of them are machismos.
Yeah.
I would argue and say, well, not all women just want to use and abuse you and friend zone you and want to, you know, obviously not work on themselves and want to, you know, listen to society.
So would you say it's easier now to date than how it was 10 years ago?
Oh, bro.
Yeah, dude.
Look,
it's
man,
easier now, right?
No. Date as far as like an actual genuine relationship. Is it easier now? Now I'm not talking about smashing.
Okay.
No.
It's
look,
easier
look.
to smash now.
Look,
To
I'm
build
not
a
the person.
relationship.
Yeah, I'm actually having an actual genuine relationship with the opposite sex. Is it easier now than how it was even 10 years ago, which it wasn't even that long ago?
I'm gonna be honest with you, man.
Different factors, man.
I've been out in the desert for about 7 years now. I am not the right person to ask about dating because again, dating would imply that I want something. And I haven't wanted something from anybody in God knows how long. There were moments where, yeah, I felt the fire in my loins and I confused it for something else. And when I came back, I thought, oh no, you just wanted to fuck.
Yeah.
That's actually all you wanted. But when it comes to like genuine love and relationships and all that stuff, I haven't wanted that in God knows how long. Which is, you know, like I said, that's where I'm at right now. Would I say it's easier? Well, no, of course not. I've been not in practicing. And this is a skill that I have not worked on or practiced in God knows how long.
Right.
So like even now, even if I didn't have all of these societal factors and all these things that are kind of floating around, even if I didn't have that, when I go out there, I don't have the practice. I wouldn't even know how to approach someone in a way where I'm trying to acquire something from you now, other than just me trying to be myself, me saying, yo, how's it going there? I am Omar.
Yeah.
These are the things that I like to do.
Yeah.
What do you like to
Yeah.
do? And I haven't had a conversation like that in God knows how long.
Well, when you actually go back into the actual pool of actually dating,
Then ask me.
you're gonna start to notice it's different now.
Okay.
It's a lot different because once again, the validation that they receive, not only via a person, now it's Instagram, all social media platforms, dating apps. It's a lot. So they think that grass is always greener from the other guy. So you're charismatic. I wouldn't say you're an ugly person. You're a good looking guy, but that's not enough anymore.
No.
That's literally not enough. You have you have to measure on so many things, and you have to amplify everything a lot more and a lot further for them to even give you the attention that you want from them. So
That sounds like a pain, dude.
So it's getting a lot different now. And I'm not saying all women and all men, but it's just majority. Of course, there's always going to be the outliers for everything. But the outliers are the outliers. You're not going to meet her randomly how you would have randomly met her 10 years. I would say 10 to 12 years ago. Because when we're like, 25, 24, so much easier to have a genuine conversation, so much easier to have a genuine connection with the opposite sex. And not even the opposite sex, with just the person in front of you. Because now we're so divided and we're so distracted that it's harder to even have a conversation with people. And like I said, now if you're going into dating, it's completely different. It's so much further out in where if you're charismatic or if you're good looking, that's just a down payment. No, you need more. You need a lot more
That's just a down payment.
You need to have so much more in order for them to even be willing for them to actually give you that attention that you once would have gotten 10, 12 years ago.
So you're saying that women are more overstimulated?
Yeah.
More, dopamine. I think, I think that women are, bombarded with so much images. People are just in general. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I think if you're just yourself, I think that, this guy's different from what I see, from what I hear. If you just genuinely just be yourself and try not to impress, I think that would just her dopamine would be like, whoa, this is completely different from what I see.
Yeah, so I would argue with that. That is an advice that another girl would give to another girl because they're being sought after. If now once again we're backtracking. Seek your North Star. Now you're being purposeful. You're going to become the better person, the better version of yourself.
Yeah.
Don't just be yourself. No, be the better of yourself.
Version. Yeah.
That's where you're going to attract that opposite sex. But that's where it comes with charismatic, being financially stable, having some sort of social cues, being able to attract not only the person that you're trying to talk to, but the room. I'm telling you have to amplify everything now. 10 years ago, all you have to do is be funny. All you have to do is be a little bit good looking. All you have to do is just understand how to tell a joke here and there. And there you go. But now because everything's bombarded, like he said, they think because they got attention from the athlete, or they think because they got attention from the rapper, or they think they
got 25,000 comments.
Exactly, or the likes.
That feels good, though.
It does feel good.
And that's the average girl, though. That's literally the average girl that we should technically be dating. But now because the amount of stimulus, the amount of validation, the amount of just the amount of likes or whatever they get, it's a lot different. They think they deserve the world, which technically do, but that means you have to be the better version of yourself just to get the chance in order to get the girl that you actually want, though. Because we could technically get a girl.
I was going to say, you could probably go down the street and get somebody right now.
But is that the girl that you're going to want?
Not right now, no. I'll be honest with you, everything just sounded like a headache. I was just like, this is why I'm at where I'm at right now.
But it's like everything else, it's work. I'm not going to say, hey, jump into the pool and just go into deep end. No. You have to warm up, you have to go. And this is what I tell all my guys too. They're coming up, I know they're not financially stable yet, but I always tell them no, go on dates, understand how society is working right now, understand where the conversation is leading to, understand what the games are now, because it's completely different. You can't say good morning anymore. You can't say good night anymore. It's completely different. They get bombarded by the good mornings, highs. Hey, when could I see?
Thirsty.
The game completely changed for the both parties. But that's what I'm saying. Just warm up.
Yeah, you can't go to the girl's house with flowers anymore.
Yeah, you can't do that no more. You can't be the nice guy.
You can't throw rocks at her when, hey, man.
Look, man, when I think about like I was saying what my North Star is about, making my family just free. That regardless of, if it's, what's the word? Regardless if I want anything out of you, if you're in my circle, I am a nurturer. This is what I do. I give. So I don't want to give anyway. So even if, my girl is oh, she wants to work, you can work. I don't care. But I want to give you so much that you don't want to. Because again, then you can focus on all the activities that you've always wanted to focus on. And that's the same. I would want that for my little brother.
Yeah.
I'd want that for my sister. I'd want that for my brother-in-law. I'd want that for my mom. I'd want that for my nephew. I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't even argue and say that that's a man and female.
Is that nurturing or providing?
I say that's nurture.
Because you're providing freedom. Because you're asking them, hey, I'm providing you this so that you could then do what you want as a human.
So those words are the same.
No,
then.
nurturing is basically being loving, being caring, being...
That's what love is.
No, you're providing. You're not there. You're having to go bust your ass and go provide that income so that you could then give them that freedom.
Love is
But isn't that love?
Love is like unconditional. You're unconditional, you know?
Unconditional.
When you mess up, they look at you and go, I'm not gonna look at you as a fuck up. I'm just like, hey, okay, babe, just try again.
Yeah.
Unconditional. You know, you give them many chances. That's love, right?
Yeah.
You won't.
So, because again, love is the idea of nurture or giving unconditionally. So, like the idea of providing, what are you giving? Your time.
Time's very valuable. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is time. It is the most valuable asset you have.
Yeah.
Would you not say that that is the ultimate form of nurturing when you give your time for someone else?
It is I would say a criteria of
Very
providing
important
and
piece.
nurturing.
Very important piece.
But who is actually raising the kids? Who's actually giving the morals and values? You know, the mother.
But they're giving time as well.
No, yeah, time for
Time.
that. For giving though, that's like they're there.
The time is the gasoline for the love car to move. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're giving her the freedom to then do what she is best at, which is that part. Of course, you are saying providing is nurturing, which is I'm 100% correct, but it's not everything.
Totally. Not in the sense in your definition.
Yeah, because you're not there to give them those values. Because once again, in order for you to give them that freedom, you have to spend your time not being there. That means someone has to be nurturing in person, so that who is the one that's being nurturing to whomever you're trying to be nurturing to.
Yeah. But that's hot and cold. It's the same thing. You're going to get burned either way. It doesn't matter if it's extremely hot or if it's extremely cold. If I'm giving you my time so that you have the freedom to give your time to give love to our children, I am providing love as well. I'm just calling it something different, and it looks different.
I mean, like you said, fathers, they don't think they know how to do is provide. They think that's their love. I'm providing my time, my efforts of working, making money to put food on your table, keep a roof under your heads. That's my love for you guys.
Yeah.
It might not be like, here's a hug, mijo.
Yeah.
Here's a new game. No, that's their language
That's
of
their
love.
love.
Yeah.
Their language of love.
Yes.
What is your language?
And I would actually and I do agree with that, but now me being myself now and understanding what human behaviors and all that stuff, it has to be met with more now. Because once again, now we have young men not understanding even definitions. So for me, if I have a boy, I have to then provide him information rather than just providing income, providing him food. No, I have to give him, hey, this is your compass. This is how you follow your compass. If you do this, this is going to go this way. If you do this, now I'm giving them the information that I didn't get, because once again, off of either social constructs or culture, the idea was I'm just going to provide a roof, food, and money, and that's it. That was my part.
Right.
No, now once again, I need to then better myself. But once again, we're very selfish people that we think this is enough. No, it's never enough.
Yeah, selfishness is natural way of life. You know, if you're constantly working 9-10 hours a day, the least thing you want to do is give advice to your kid.
or love or empathy.
You just want to go home and sleep because you're so worked up.
Yeah.
And how you gonna give them that advice? You know, like it's just life is complicated.
Yeah,
man.
life is very
You gotta hit
complicated.
the
But
brakes.
this is why it's very important to have conversations.
Yeah.
This is why it's very important not only for us to have a conversation with each other, but also to have conversations with those that are younger than us.
Yeah.
The guys that talk to me that are younger, I say sacrifice your 20s. Stop being a loser. You know, literally, you want to be a certain person. You talk about females a certain way, but yet you're nothing. You know, who are you? You haven't done nothing for society for you to have any type of say in anything yet. So what are you doing? go and do what you need to do. And like you said, you don't want to do the 9 to 5 or the 9 to 9, because sometimes in order for certain freedoms to be given, you have to sacrifice your time. But if you don't want to do that when you have that position as a provider, sacrifice your 20s in order for you not to do that when you do have kids. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm working 12, 16 hours now. Like your guy, he built a business. He is now, I have employees. I'm pretty sure at one point he's going to have employees.
Yeah, he's
in
working
order
on it.
for him to manage just those employees so that he could then give them the time that he was then putting onto the job. So if he does have kids, he no longer has to give all his time to his work. He could then give that time to his family.
Come on, give me the noise. Give me the noise. No, I do agree with that, because in that sense, I am a little old fashioned.
Yeah.
I would want to take care of everything, but that's my nature. Right? Since I was a little kid, I wanted to handle everything.
Yeah.
I want to do everything. I want to make sure that you don't have to worry about it. But I would say that's my nature. I guess you can call that masculine nature, whatever. But like, as far as like,
That's just being you.
that's just me, man. Exactly. It's just
being you.
me. You know what I mean? Like
The thing is, like, once again, we try to define certain things in a negative way. I think we spoke about this in the last podcast about masculinity, and then I think we were talking about it in a very negative way, which I should have said something. What they were trying to say is ego, not masculinity. I think masculinity is very important, because what do you want? You know, if there's something in danger, you want to be masculine, not run away. You know, and I'm not saying that females will run away, but more than likely, like yourself, you want to protect. But that's your masculinity.
that's just my nature.
You know, that's just your nature, exactly. But don't see it in a negative way. It's just who you really are. Just understand too, once again, what are you good at, what you lack on naturally, and then once again, the opposite sex, what they're good at and what they lack on, and once again, come together and then become better people.
The best person.
Yeah.
Some would say perfection. Sorry, I thought you were gonna point the camera at me.
Oh, okay.
Perfection.
All right, Omar. Perfection. We'll leave it off there. Do you guys want to plug anything else? Because we have a comedy show to go to. I have a comedy show.
You have a comedy.
I don't know if you got the tickets.
They sold out when
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
I know Ramses was
dude,
calling
I was
right
gonna
now.
try to get it at the door.
Or you
bro.
could probably do it, because
You
last
could?
time me and Ramses went to the wrestling match and they were still selling tickets.
All right.
Yeah. So I'm going to go right now literally right now.
Okay.
Oh my God, we've been talking for almost 3 hours, bro.
Man, don't worry, you talk a lot.
Hey man, you talk a lot too. You're gonna be editing this and be like, oh man, I had a lot to say. I'm like, yeah, you did.
It did go. It's like a snake eating itself. It seemed like
The
one of those.
Ouroboros, baby.
It seemed like it was that. It was coming around and
It's going around.
But hey, that's what, again, obviously how you keep a conversation going.
Yeah, exactly.
When you know what? It's not that I disagree, but I know I know what hits you, and that's going to get you to start talking. So again, that's something I learned from social cues, watching people. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's when, for me, it's more of when people start defining words a certain way. I get it, it's your opinion, but I'm like, bro,
you know, here's the thing, we're going to leave it at that before we start talking for another 3 hours. Hey, where do words come from?
where were words defined from?
Well, I mean, where do words come from in general?
Yeah, right. I know where you're going with this.
You know where I'm going with
right
this.
now. Where is it coming from right now?
Where is it coming from?
As we speak, I'm not thinking this at the same time as I'm speaking to you.
Hey, bro,
It's
there's
crazy.
just sounds that I make
Yeah.
that a group of hunga bunga people.
You and your hunga
Hey,
bungas.
these motherfuckers, they've been ruling our life for thousands of years and we don't even know it, dude. But these hunga bunga people said, this is what this means, this is what that means, this is what this means. And it was all in for the sake of communication,
Yeah.
and of course for ego purposes, to make yourself feel like you know something. But at the end of the day, we're a bunch of fucking monkeys on this rock that's spinning again, spinning in empty fucking space, and we're claiming to say that this is coffee. And that's what it means. It's some mud water that I invented. Look at me. Aren't you proud of me? Hunga bunga.
Yeah, but who are you putting that claim to, though? Like, if there's no one to claim it, why would they even go after it? Like the entitled of word.
Well, that's
I'm like,
ego.
Of who though? Like who's
Of
saying
everybody, of everything.
Then make it your own word. Then and I'll
That's
call
what
it
I'm
that.
saying. I call hot, hot. I call cold, cold. And baby, these words, they don't even make sense anymore.
Yeah, but see how the confusion goes back to, of course, what he said. What is a woman? That's where it's at now. That's where it's led to now because people are defining everything in whatever sense that they want. We have to come to an agreement on certain things in order for society to work. And if it doesn't, we will all become this whole idea of like, it's this and it's that. And it's distorted. We have to come to an agreement at some point because if not, we're going to define everything on whatever.
Ooh, but that's human nature, baby. The human brain says, that looks funny. That looks funny. I don't like that. I don't like this. Let me make order out of it. But in reality, again, we're a bunch of fucking monkeys on this spinning rock. And there is no order. The fact that we're alive is a miracle. The fact that there's any order from this disorder is a miracle. Like you wanting to make order is from fear and anxiety and the idea of, I don't like how uncomfortable I feel. If I don't know what's in the dark, a snake's going to come and bite my ankle and I'm fucking dead. That comes from survival instincts.
But what is a snake?
It's the unknown. You were going to call her a woman. That's what you're going to
So why am I scared of the snake? So if I don't know what it is.
a woman. It is the unknown. That's what a snake is. It is the unknown.
Why do I fear the snake? Does it have poison?
Maybe.
What is poison?
It will kill you.
What is kill?
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. That's why we have to come to a common agreement.
That's order.
In order for us to understand what it is. I'm not saying that I am going to, everything that you say, I'm going to disagree with. But I will disagree with technically stupidity in order for there to be a sense of agreement of commonality. I get it. You don't want to be called, you call it something else, mud water. Cool.
Look, man.
I'll call it mud water if you want to call it mud water. But don't come after me if I forget to call it mud water.
That's fair. But the thing is, like, again, that feeling of you wanting order in a universe where there is disorder, I think that's stupidity.
Yeah.
I think the fact that you think that you know anything and that there is sense of order is stupid.
Yeah.
Because again, all that exists has existed because somebody said, look at that thing.
What is that?
Let me define that. Exactly. What is that? What is that? What is that?
Yeah, what is it?
There's a tree. That's a guitar.
Yeah.
This is the microphone. And as we start to define, the labels come. And as the labels come, well, then again, you know everything, don't you?
No. I think that's where we try to define on what it's not and what it's not doing. I think the idea that what is coffee or whatever, like I get it. It's caffeinated. It's going to make you hyper if you're tired or whatever. I get what it does chemically. So chemically, that's an order. But you're trying to say it's mud water. No, it's not mud water because there's no mud in there. But you could define it as mud water.
It looks muddy, right?
I would call it mud water if you want me to call it mud water. But chemically, I'm saying I know what it's going to do to you. And I know everyone's calling it coffee. And I'm just going to call it coffee because why would I want to call it mud water? There's no mud in there.
Well, because chemically, from one person to another,
Oh my God.
this might actually not wake you up. You might have ADD and it might chill you the fuck out. You might be able to drink this and actually go to bed.
But is that the majority?
So then what you're saying is that this doesn't sit on one side or the other then. Because if chemically this is supposed to wake you up, then would that not be the same for every single person that comes in contact with that?
No, I'm just saying that there's no mud in there.
But we can at the end of the day,
chemically, you said that this is caffeine.
Yeah,
at the end of the day, it's a liquid in a cup that we drink and you piss it out.
There you go.
That is the balance of life.
There you go.
But then Omar will say, "What is piss?"
What is piss?
Whatever you liquid.
Exactly.
man.
It just comes with this whole idea of like, what is whatever? Like, I get it. I don't know everything. That's why I like to read, and that's why I like to seek knowledge. But I'm not going to seek knowledge just to argue with knowledge. You know, that's not how it works.
That's what philosophers do. And
Get outside the box,
sorry,
Irvin,
man,
you know
you just
what I
gotta get out of the box, Irvin. Okay, that's all you gotta do.
Come back.
I think you need to come in a little bit into the box, Omar. I think you went too far out.
You gotta bring that boy back in the box.
Hey man, I ain't going back in the box. I ain't going back
So
in the
many
box.
boxes, bro. Come back to that one box you came from.
Hey, once you see what's outside that box, it's hard to go back in. That's all. That's
Yeah.
all I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
And hey, that's everybody else's journey.
Yeah.
My journey says this is where I'm at, and this
Yeah.
is why again
Yeah.
I'm at a point where I'm working on me.
Yeah.
And I'm not worrying about anybody
Yeah.
else or anything else
Yeah.
or the labels that I would put on
Yeah.
myself that I'm this, I'm that, I think this way, I am this way,
Mm-hmm.
and these are just stories that we create in order to keep us in the box.
Mm.
And guess what? Fuck that box. Fuck that box.
All right.
Omar,
On that note,
all right, Omar, thank you for your
finishing words.
the way that you see the world. I hope none of my audience got confused, but
I
all
hope
right.
they did and ask a bunch of questions. Come see me, okay? I'm on Instagram, omar.j.ruiz. If you were confused about anything,
It's
please
super
come ask me.
confusing.
All right, we'll talk about it some
All
more.
right, you guys. Enrique, thank you so much for coming through.
You're welcome.
Once again. I hope we could do it again.
Yes.
And of course, like I said, I like the dynamic that we have when we come together as far as like the three of us. I love the other podcast. It was a random podcast having first meeting you.
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course, having Omar on the switcher. I like the bantering. And of course, Omar is very good at arguing. And I'm very good at arguing back. So
I think next time we'll have a girl on the switchboard.
I would love to have a girl in here. Let's
Yeah,
do that
get her
next
on
time.
here.
have my assistant. Or,
Get somebody. Get the.
That'd be cool.
I've been trying to get
That'd
Sarah
be-
in. I've been.
What's her deal?
Ask her and the camera go. She's gonna listen to this.
Hey,
Hey, yo.
what's your deal?
Yeah, yo. What's your deal?
We need some femininity in here that isn't me, okay?
Yeah. Hopefully she'll come through one day. I've been trying to get her in my pod since I started the pod, which is like 2 years ago. Of course, I had to stop a year ago because of work, but even then, I was asking her consistently because, once again, she is one of my only female friends that I generally would say she is my female friend. And of course, Ariana is my other podcast, In View Media. She is literally my co-host. So those two women right now, as far as like when it comes to actual friendships, genuine friendships are there. And I do want to highlight her because we've gone through, like, we've actually had experiences together, like gone through, like we've grown as people together. And I want people to actually get to know her. You know, like, she's a good person. You got to meet her. I think Enrique got to meet her too at my birthday party.
Oh, Sarah? Oh, yeah, Sarah's great.
She's good people. But she's shy.
I
You
figured.
know,
That's probably why she's avoiding it. I see you. I know that's why.
yeah, but I myself too. I don't want to talk, but yet I've got out of my
Hey, you just need
out of
the
my
right,
uncomfort.
right topics. That's all.
We're friends, you know. What topics? What topics could we not talk about at this point? We've argued on so many topics at this point that it wouldn't be new to us anymore.
Absolutely.
You know, but it doesn't mean we have to argue on a podcast like you. For some reason, you like to argue.
No.
I think it was the coffee, bro.
Hey,
it was your
you
mud
got me
water.
excited, man.
It was your mud water.
Hey, I get passionate, bro, when I'm talking about topics, okay? You can call it the girl in me, whatever it is, man. I
I
get excited.
I think Urban senses the female on you. He's
Oh my
suppressing you down,
It's
boy.
suppressing you.
You don't talk, woman.
Oh my goodness. Where's my stick?
my stick?
Where's my stick?
Shit, let's end this podcast now. That's it. We're done. We're done.
Oh my goodness. Oh, Illuminati, please don't cancel my podcast. It just started. It was Omar. It was Omar.
My
I
bad.
never knew that word till Omar told me about it.
Oh, man.
All right, you guys. Thank you so
All
much
right.
for listening. Thank you for watching. Those that are watching, please like and subscribe. Omar, thank you for coming through. Enrique for coming through.
Right.
And I'll see you guys on the next one.
Bye.